I used to think our marriage was unbreakable, a fortress stronger than the bulletproof vests I wear on SWAT raids. I never imagined a single text message could detonate my life, but that's exactly what happened. I saw her hush-hush calls at midnight, caught her brushing past me with a scent of cologne that wasn't mine. My heart pounded harder than any gunfight when I found that hotel bill for $400. She said it was a business expense, yet every shaky excuse only pulled the trigger on my suspicions. I planted recording devices the way I'd set up a sting operation, surgical, cold, relentless. I still remember the look on her face when I cornered her with family present, blasting evidence like a SWAT breach. She begged, tears running down her cheeks, but all I saw was betrayal that burned deeper than any bullet wound. I threw her out that night, divorce papers in one hand, my daughter in the other. This is the story of how I discovered the enemy wasn't on the streets of Denver, it was sharing my bed. I remember the precise moment the undercurrent of dread first flickered to life in my mind. Up until then, I believed Chelsea and I had one of those unshakable marriages people envy. When I joined the Denver SWAT team, I warned her about the demands. The phone might buzz at 3 in the morning, or I might miss a family dinner because of a last-minute operation. She smiled and said, "I'm strong, Wyatt. I can handle it." And for years, she did, keeping the home in order, showering love on our daughter, Kiara, and greeting me with a warm grin whenever I came back from a shift that left my nerves twitching. But something changed in the air 8 years into our marriage. Maybe it was how she clutched her phone a little too tightly, or how she started ducking outside to answer mysterious calls at odd hours. As a SWAT officer, I'm trained to sense danger, and the vibe in my own home had started crackling like an impending storm. I'm Wyatt Carter, 36 years old, proud father, devoted husband at least. I used to consider myself devoted without question, and a SWAT team officer in Denver. My days revolve around high-stakes missions, ballistic vests, breaching doors, and the ever-present adrenaline that comes from risking my life to keep the city safe. I'm known in my unit for being the calm voice on the radio, the steady aim behind the sights. Yet none of that training prepared me for the creeping suspicion that maybe my wife was hiding something. It was a Thursday night. I'd just finished checking my gear in the living room, unloading, reloading, disassembling, polishing, reassembling my sidearm when Chelsea scurried in, phone in hand, whispering. She halted mid-whisper upon seeing me, her face masked by a half-smile. "Everything okay?" I asked. She said it was a co-worker from her marketing consultancy, a question about a pitch deck. Maybe if I hadn't been in SWAT, if I weren't used to reading body language, I would have believed her. Her posture was off, shoulders tense. Her eyes darted everywhere but toward me. That night, we climbed into bed. Kiara was already asleep in her room. Jennifer, my wife's younger sister, was out studying at the college library. The house was otherwise quiet. I stared at the ceiling, waiting for Chelsea to settle. She shifted and sighed, facing away from me. I hesitated, wanting to ask about that phone call, then swallowed the words and convinced myself not to be paranoid. That was the beginning of my fatal generosity. The next morning at breakfast, I tried to bury that feeling under everyday routine. I poured cereal for Kiara, teased her about the cartoon she loved watching. Jennifer, who lived with us while finishing her sociology degree, sipped her coffee and typed notes for a paper, and Chelsea served eggs with an intensity that read like she was focusing hard on something else. "Got a big meeting?" I asked over a forkful of scrambled eggs. She nodded briskly. "New client, tech startup. They're demanding but could lead to a big retainer." "Cool," I said. I tried to sound encouraging, but something snagged inside me. For the past year or so, Chelsea had mostly worked from home, only occasionally stepping into an office or coffee shop to meet clients. Suddenly, she was jammed with urgent sessions, client dinners, or investor lunches. I suppose it could have been real growth in her consulting business, but my gut told me It was an excuse. As I rose to grab my SWAT jacket, Kiara tugged on my hand. "Daddy, can you stay home tonight? Watch a movie with me?" My chest tightened. "I'll try, Princess. But you know, if I get called in..." Her wide eyes flicked between me and Chelsea. "Mommy said she's busy tonight, too." "Sorry, honey," Chelsea cut in. "Another dinner with a client." Jennifer shot me a glance. Neither of us wanted Kiara neglected. "I'll watch her," Jennifer offered. "We'll rent something fun, eat junk food." Kiara brightened, but I exchanged a subtle look with Jennifer that silently said, "I owe you." Because this was happening more and more. Me on edge with SWAT obligations, Chelsea with her new busy schedule, and Jennifer plugging the gaps for Kiara. That night, I ended up off duty, ironically enough. No SWAT calls, no emergencies. I had the evening free. But Chelsea was out, presumably at some posh restaurant with her so-called client. By 9 p.m., Kiara was asleep after a Disney movie on the couch with Jennifer. I lingered in the living room, flicking channels aimlessly. I texted Chelsea. "Hey, if you finish early, I'm home. Let's talk about Kiara's birthday next month." She didn't reply. Jennifer headed to bed around 10. The house felt eerily silent. I carried Kiara upstairs, tucked her into her bed, and read her a quick story, even though she was half asleep. Then I wandered to the master bedroom, waiting. Midnight came, and the front door finally clicked. From behind a crack in the bedroom door, I saw Chelsea slip in, removing her heels with a cautious hush. She didn't notice me watching. She checked her phone again, typed something quickly, and exhaled in a shaky sigh. Then she stepped upstairs, saw I was awake, and forced a bright smile. "How was your meeting?" I asked gently. "Oh, exhausting. This client is so picky." She yawned, not making eye contact. "I'm beat. Let's talk tomorrow, okay?" A swirl of cologne or perfume that wasn't hers. I couldn't pin it down. My heart hammered as I smelled an unfamiliar musk around her, faint but tangible. I swallowed. "Sure. Tomorrow." She slid under the covers, turning away. I lay beside her, staring at her silhouette, feeling like a stranger. In my own marriage. A few days later, my day job gave me a mandatory training session. I finished earlier than expected. My SWAT team ran an intense exercise scenario that got canceled halfway when the training site lost power. So I decided to surprise Chelsea, maybe take her out for lunch. I called her phone. Voicemail. I texted, "Free for lunch?" Training ended early. No response. That was odd. She usually texted back quickly. I drove across the city, deciding to swing by her usual coffee spot downtown. Maybe she was meeting a client there. As I turned into the cafe's parking lot, I spotted her sedan. My pulse spiked. Maybe this was a sweet chance to do something spontaneous, show up, share a quick lunch, break the tension I felt lately. But as I approached the big glass windows, I saw her seated with a man in a navy suit. They leaned toward each other, talking intently. She reached out and briefly touched his wrist. My breath caught. I recognized that posture. Intimacy. Something deeper than a business chat. I stepped into the cafe. The door chimed. Chelsea jolted, looking at me with wide eyes. The man turned, gave me a polite once-over. She introduced him as Howard Jacobs. "We're discussing marketing strategies," she said. She spoke with an unnatural brightness, too rehearsed. Howard, tall, slick hair, self-assured, extended his hand. I shook it, letting none of my tension show on my face. I was good at that. SWAT training. My heart was pounding, though. The vibe was all wrong. "Oh, hey," I said softly. "I finished training early, thought we could grab lunch." Chelsea said, "That's sweet, Wyatt, but we're almost finished here, right, Howard?" He nodded. Sure. But he didn't look comfortable. After a stilted minute of small talk, he gathered his laptop bag, gave Chelsea a meaningful glance, and left. The moment he was out of sight, Chelsea jumped up and kissed my cheek. "Such a surprise," she said, her voice shaking slightly. "Let's go." I followed her to the car, questions swirling in my head. Why had she looked so alarmed to see me? If Howard was just a client, what was that tension I felt? In the passenger seat, she stared straight ahead. "Sorry if I seemed weird in there," she muttered. "I just didn't expect you." 100 retorts died on my tongue. Instead, I said, "It's fine. Let's get lunch. I miss you." She just nodded, forcing a smile. That night, I found a suspicious text on Chelsea's phone. She'd left it charging by the sofa while she hopped in the shower. A banner popped up. "Can't wait to see you again, Howard." My stomach twisted like a clenched fist. In my line of work, I've prided myself on being calm under fire. But that moment tested my composure. I wanted to fling that phone across the room to confront her immediately. Instead, I inhaled deeply, remembering everything we'd built. Our daughter, our home, our supposed partnership. If I was wrong, if there was some innocent explanation, bursting in a rage might destroy trust for no reason. So I backed away. Let the message vanish from the lock screen. Waited. The shower turned off. Water stopped running. Chelsea emerged, hair wrapped in a towel. She froze upon seeing me near her phone. "All good?" she asked, nonchalantly. "Yeah, just heading up to bed." She slipped the phone into her hand and pressed the power button, presumably to check her notifications. An odd flicker of guilt crossed her face. She tried to hide it. I forced a casual shrug. "Everything okay with your client?" She paused. "Yes, just follow up." We didn't speak more of it. I went to bed feeling a nauseating certainty that there was no simple explanation for that text. Jennifer was the next to notice something off. Over breakfast the following day, she asked me quietly, "Wyatt, everything okay with you two? Chelsea has been kinda scattered." I sipped my coffee. "She's been busy, right? Maybe it's stress. She left the house at 5 this morning." I frowned. "She told me she had an 8 o'clock meeting." Jennifer nodded, eyes worried. "Right. So I just want you to know, if Kiara needs anything rides, help with homework, whatever, I'm here." That generosity stung me deeper. It underscored how often I was either out on SWAT calls or Chelsea was gone. The perfect storm for Kiara to be cared for by Jennifer more than either parent. I patted Jennifer's shoulder. "Thank you. We'll figure this out." But as I said it, I realized how uncertain I sounded. Days melted into a strange dance. Chelsea's schedule stayed erratic. I had some late SWAT shifts that made me too tired to pry, but the tension was crushing me. One afternoon, while paying bills online, I noticed a credit card charge for $400 at a ritzy downtown hotel. The date matched a client dinner night. She'd never mentioned it. I called the hotel, trying to confirm. They politely refused to reveal names. My anger boiled. My mind spun possible reasons for that charge. A group dinner, maybe? But $400 at a hotel looked more like a room cost than a meal. I confronted her mildly that evening after Kiara was in bed. "Hey, I saw an interesting charge on the card. Something about the Somerset Hotel last Thursday. What was that about?" She blinked, swallowing. "Oh, that. My client insisted on booking a private lounge space. He put it on my card, said he'd reimburse." "And he hasn't?" "Not yet, but he will." She fiddled with her wedding band, not meeting my gaze. I forced a nod, not wanting a blow-up that moment. "Just let me know if you need me to chase down an invoice. We can't eat $400 for nothing." She exhaled relief, like she dodged a bullet. "Sure, honey." Then she pecked my cheek and changed the subject. But the small cracks in her story added up. I hated feeling suspicious, like I was policing my own wife. In the SWAT world, you trust your teammates with your life. There's no room for secrets or half-truths. And I used to trust Chelsea the same way. I turned to an old friend, Perry, a detective with the local PD, for discreet help. We met for coffee. Usually we talked about daily Life City politics, shared jokes about incompetent criminals. But that morning my hands trembled around the mug. "I think Chelsea might be having an affair," I said, voice low. Perry's face sobered. "Damn, Wyatt. Are you sure?" "Not 100%, but I have reasons to suspect. Late-night calls, unexplained receipts, suspicious texts from a guy named Howard Jacobs." He rubbed his chin. "That's tough. I can do some background checks or see if he's got a record. But you gotta be careful. This can get messy if you misuse department resources." I nodded. "I know. I just can't shake this feeling. If I'm right, I need proof." Perry eyed me sympathetically. "What then? Divorce? Or try to fix it?" I stared at the table. "I'm not sure. I guess it depends on what exactly she's done. But I won't be played for a fool." He patted my shoulder. "You're not a fool. Let me see what I can discreetly dig up on Howard. Meanwhile, keep your cool." Keep my cool, that was the mantra. In SWAT, losing your cool means risking lives. In marriage, apparently, losing your cool can also blow up your entire foundation. The final straw came on a Saturday night. Chelsea claimed she had another networking dinner. I had the evening off, ironically enough. Kiara was doing a sleepover at a friend's house. Jennifer was out, leaving me alone in the house. Something nagged me to check Chelsea's car when she returned. It was around 1 in the morning when she pulled up. I watched from an upstairs window as she parked. She looked around, as if worried someone might see her, then hurried inside. Once she was in the shower, I snuck to the garage and opened her passenger door. I used my phone's flashlight. Under the seat, I found a used condom wrapper. My heart slammed so hard I thought I'd pass out. I stuffed the wrapper into a plastic bag. Then I retreated to the kitchen, bracing against the counter, swallowing back a wave of sickness. She didn't even bother to hide the evidence properly. Was she so secure in my obliviousness? She finished showering, tried to talk to me, but I locked myself in the guest room, refusing to open. She texted, "You okay? Let me in." I didn't reply. My chest burned with betrayal. The next morning, she tiptoed around me, offering coffee, acting sweet. "Wyatt, we should plan a weekend trip soon. Just the two of us," she said overbright. I studied her. "I'm busy for a while." She blinked, nerves flickering in her eyes. "Is everything all right?" I nearly demanded she confess. But I forced myself calm. "I'm fine. Just got a lot on my plate." Her lips thinned. "Well, okay. Let me know if you want to talk." She scurried off, tension radiating. Later that day, I dialed Perry. "I need to do more than background checks, man. I want to gather ironclad proof." He exhaled. "I get it. Just be sure you want to cross that line. Surveillance on your own wife isn't pretty." My voice sounded dead. She left me no choice. I decided to orchestrate a confrontation, but I wanted it big, unequivocal. I planned to call both sets of parents, maybe even invite Howard, lure him under some pretense. That way, there'd be no lying, no spin. She'd have to face me in front of the entire family. And that was how Chapter 1 of this tragedy ended. Me, forging a plan to expose her. I spent the next few days preparing for the bombshell confrontation. My idea was simple. Arrange a family dinner. Get my parents and hers in one place. Then, I'd text Howard from her phone, claiming she wanted him to drop by with some marketing-related documents. Let the truth explode with everyone present. It was bold, maybe cruel, but I was done playing nice. My heart ached as I pictured Kiara in the crossfire. That was the one thing that made me hesitate. I didn't want her witnessing this meltdown, but she was often at her grandparents' or with Jennifer. If I timed it right, maybe Kiara wouldn't see the worst. Late one afternoon, I tested a new voice-activated recorder. I slipped it beneath the driver's seat of Chelsea's sedan. Then a hidden camera in the living room disguised as a digital photo frame. Perry had cautioned me. Legally, this could backfire, but you do you. I rationalized that this was my house, my car, and I had every right to protect myself. The betrayal was so brazen, used condom wrappers, suspicious hotel charges that I no longer believed she deserved privacy. That's how betrayal warps you. You find yourself stepping into morally gray territory, justifying each step by saying, "She started it." That evening, she left again around 8, claiming a late meeting. I turned on the camera in the living room. I decided to stay up until she returned. Hours passed. Around midnight, I dozed off on the couch. A beep on my phone woke me. A SWAT buddy texted, asking if I was around tomorrow for a training run. I rubbed my eyes, realized it was 1:30, and Chelsea wasn't home. Anxiety twisted my stomach. Could she be mid-act with Howard right now? Finally, at 2, I heard the garage door. I pretended to be asleep in the living room, but I'd angled my phone to record her entrance. She tiptoed in, hair slightly disheveled, lips parted as if she'd run up the steps. She froze upon seeing me. "Oh," she breathed. You're awake?" I made a show of stretching. "Yeah, I dozed off waiting." She forced a smile. "We had last-minute edits to a pitch deck." "Sure," I stood. "I'll go to bed." She nodded quickly, stepping aside to let me pass. As I brushed by her, I caught that faint aftershave or cologne smell again. My chest clenched. I said nothing. The next morning, I checked the recorder from her car. One snippet pinned me cold. Chelsea's voice. "Howard, I can't keep lying to him forever. He's bound to realize." Howard. "Relax, babe. He's busy with SWAT nonsense." Chelsea. "You don't know Wyatt like I do. He notices little details." My throat burned, listening to it. The woman I loved was confiding in another man about deceiving me. She was worried about me noticing. She called me busy with SWAT nonsense, like my career was a convenient smokescreen for her affair. Then Howard said, "Let's just be careful. Another week or two, maybe we can find a better arrangement." A better arrangement for what, them living together? Or leaving me entirely? I felt sick. I copied the audio onto a flash drive. I'd show her parents or maybe the entire room when the confrontation happened. Cold, methodical planning took over. I'd do this like a mission. Gather evidence, wait for the perfect moment, strike. I arranged the family dinner for a Saturday. Called my parents. "Hey, Dad, I want you to come over. Let's say we're celebrating Kiara's upcoming birthday early. Nothing big, just a small get-together." He sounded pleased, but suspicious. "Is everything okay, Wyatt?" I just insisted it would be fine. Next, I invited her parents, told them the same story. They agreed, though her mother sounded puzzled. "Chelsea didn't mention any party." I gave a tight laugh. I wanted to surprise her. Finally, I seized Chelsea's phone while she was showering and sent a text to Howard. "We're having a family dinner Saturday at 7 p.m. My parents want to meet that marketing consultant I keep talking about. Could you drop by with the concept sketches? Thanks, babe." I nearly gagged typing babe, but I needed to replicate her style. Then I deleted the text from her phone's sent messages so she wouldn't see it. He replied half an hour later. Sure. If you're sure it's a good idea, I'll do it. Saturday, 7 p.m. Perfect. The trap was set. All week, I kept up the facade. Chelsea grew a bit suspicious about the birthday dinner. She asked me if I'd told Kiara, and I shrugged. Let's keep it hush, hush. Might be fun to see her reaction. In truth, I planned to have Jennifer take Kiara out for an ice cream or something. I didn't want Kiara's innocent eyes to witness the meltdown. Each evening leading up to Saturday, I tested the hidden camera in the living room. It captured a wide angle of the couch and the area near the TV stand, perfect for filming the confrontation. I also had an external mic I could quickly plug into my laptop to play the incriminating recordings. I was thorough. A part of me felt monstrous orchestrating such a humiliating scene, but the bitterness inside me had grown unstoppable. She disrespected me, our family, our daughter. I pictured the used condom wrapper and her hush-hush phone calls. My anger overshadowed compassion. Saturday arrived. I called Jennifer aside in the morning. Hey, I need you to do me a favor. Around 7, can you take Kiara out for a treat? I have some adult stuff to talk about with everyone. It's not going to be pretty. Jennifer eyed me. Are you sure you want to do whatever this is? My jaw tightened. She's cheating on me, Jen. I have proof. Her face fell. I suspected, but I hoped it wasn't true. It is. I exhaled. I'm done letting her feed me lies. Tonight, it comes out. Jennifer nodded, sadness flickering in her expression. I'll keep Kiara occupied. Just don't do anything you'll regret. Thanks, I said stiffly. I need closure, no matter how ugly it gets. By early evening, I readied the living room, moved the furniture slightly so the hidden camera had an unobstructed view, placed my laptop on the coffee table, that flash drive with all the damning audio and pictures. My mother texted, "We're on our way." Her tone was cheerful, unaware of the storm about to erupt. Chelsea was upstairs, presumably freshening up, believing she'd come down to some harmless family dinner. If she had any clue I'd invited Howard, she didn't show it. She was wearing a casual dress, hair pinned back. She even kissed my cheek, a tense smile on her lips. Ready for this birthday surprise dinner? I gave a nod. My voice felt stuck. You have no idea. At 6:45, Jennifer left with Kiara. My parents arrived at 6:50, followed by Chelsea's parents at 6:55. They milled about the living room, hugging. I tried to mask my tension with small talk. My father, a retired Army captain, studied me with concern. Something's off, he murmured. I just said, we'll talk soon. At 7:05, the doorbell rang. I felt my heart rate spike to mission-level adrenaline. Chelsea looked puzzled. I wonder who that is. I locked eyes with her. Could you get it? She shrugged, went to the door. I lingered behind, wanting to see her face when she realized who stood outside. She opened it, and I heard a muffled gasp. Howard, what are you doing here? His voice was hushed. The text you sent you said your parents wanted to see my marketing stuff? Chelsea whirled, eyes wide, flicking back to me. Wyatt, did you? I stepped forward, arms crossed. Yes, Howard. We all do. Please come in. The living room went silent as Howard entered. My parents, her parents, all turned with confusion. Chelsea's father frowned. Who is this? Howard cleared his throat. I'm Howard Jacobs, the marketing consultant. Chelsea's mother frowned, glancing at her daughter. You never mentioned him, dear. Chelsea's eyes darted around, panic obvious. She stammered something about, oh, it's just a contact from work. We didn't need to bother you. I gestured for them all to sit. My father, mother, her father, mother. Howard tried to hover by the door, but I indicated the couch. Sit, he complied, looking uneasy. Chelsea shot me a desperate look. "Wyatt, can we speak privately?" I shook my head. "No, we're doing this here, right now. Everyone deserves to hear." I grabbed my laptop from the coffee table, turned it to face them. My voice was cold. "Chelsea, my dear wife, for months I've noticed your late nights, your hidden phone calls, your suspicious hotel charges. I've recorded some evidence. Let's all take a listen, shall we?" Her father blinked. "Wait, what is this about, Wyatt?" Chelsea jumped up. "Wyatt, stop! We can talk privately." I ignored her, clicked play on the first audio snippet, her voice telling Howard, "Wyatt might suspect. I can't keep lying." Then Howard's response, "Relax, babe." Gasps filled the room. Chelsea's mother clapped a hand over her mouth. My father shot me a fierce look that said, "I'm here for you, son." "Chelsea!" her father roared. "What the hell is this?" Chelsea started crying, tears sliding down her cheeks. "Daddy, it's not what you think. I can explain." Howard half stood. I didn't realize you'd do this here." I held up a hand. "Sit down, Howard. You're as much a part of this as she is." Then I clicked a second file, another snippet referencing the usual condo, and references to hooking up. My mother's eyes brimmed with tears. Chelsea's father glared at his daughter in fury. "I raised you better than this," Chelsea sobbed, trembling. She tried to approach me. "Wyatt, please, let's talk. I never wanted this to happen." I stepped back. "You say you never wanted this? You sure acted differently." I pulled out the used condom wrapper in a plastic bag, tossing it on the table. "Found this in your car, so spare me the lies." She collapsed into the armchair, face in her hands. "I'm sorry," she whispered. "I'm so sorry." I turned to Howard. "And you? I found out you're engaged to a woman named Megan. She'll be getting a special delivery of all this evidence if she hasn't already." He paled, lips quivering. "You can't do that." "Oh, I can. You think I won't protect myself?" Chelsea's mother wailed, burying her face in her husband's shoulder. My dad placed a hand on my shoulder. "Son, calm down. Let them talk." But I wasn't finished. "Calm down. She's been cheating for months. I have receipts, recordings, everything. She used my money, my trust, my home for her affair. I want you all to know exactly who you're dealing with." Chelsea tried to stammer excuses. "It was a mistake. It just got out of hand. I was lonely." I barked a laugh. "Lonely? We have a daughter, a life together. You think screwing around with this clown is the solution?" Her father roared at Howard. "Get out of here, you scumbag!" Howard looked at me, then the older man, then Chelsea. "Chelsea, say something to defend me." But she snapped at him through tears. "Just shut up, Howard. This is your fault, too." The meltdown was total, exactly as planned, though it hurt more than I'd anticipated. The betrayal in all its rawness laid out before both families. I inhaled. "Mom, Dad, I'm sorry you had to see this." "Sir, ma'am," I nodded to her parents. "I'm sorry, but your daughter forced my hand." Her father glowered at Chelsea. "You humiliated us all." Howard stood, glancing around. "I'm leaving. This is insane." I stepped aside. "Go, but understand, if you contact her again, I'll ruin you. I know people in the city's business circles, plus I have plenty more evidence." He left in a flurry of curses. The families stared after him. Chelsea sobbed uncontrollably, gasping for breath. Her father shook his head, looking at me. "Wyatt, what do you want to do now?" I took a steadying breath. "I want a divorce. She can pack her things. I don't intend to pay her a dime in spousal support. I'll keep custody of Kiara." A stunned silence. My father nodded grimly. "That's your right, son." Chelsea crawled to my feet, tears streaming, voice shaking. "Please, Wyatt, don't take Kiara. I messed up. I love you. I'll do anything." Therapy, counseling, just don't do this. I stared down at her, the woman I once adored. You disrespected me, our daughter, everything we built. You made your bed, you lie in it. Her mother looked away, tears in her eyes. Her father raked a hand through his hair, seething but also devastated. I said, pack some essentials tonight. Tomorrow we'll sort the rest. If you want to fight me in court, fine, but I've got all this evidence. Good luck. And that was how I ended part 2 of this meltdown. Me standing over her, heartbreak raging inside, but refusing to show mercy. The aftermath of that explosive confrontation hung thick in the air as Chelsea sobbed on the floor. Both sets of parents exchanged horrified glances. I felt no triumph, only a hollow ache behind my ribs, yet I refused to relent. She'd made her choice. I looked at her parents. I'm sorry this blindsided you, but I can't keep pretending. Chelsea's father, face red, snapped. Chelsea, get up! Enough with the hysterics. Her mother dabbed tears with a tissue, whispering, how could you do this? Chelsea forced herself upright, body trembling. I never meant for it to go this far, she mumbled. Howard and I, it just happened. Wyatt's always working, and I felt so alone. I stiffened, wanting to retort that her lonely complaints didn't justify betrayal. Instead, I turned to my father. Dad, would you mind taking my mother home? I need to talk with them alone for a bit. He gave a small nod, reading the tension. Of course. My mother gave me a sympathetic look before they left. Now it was just me, Chelsea, and her parents. The living room still echoed with sorrow. The hidden camera was still on, capturing it all. But I didn't care about that moment anymore. Jennifer texted me that Kiara was happily devouring ice cream, none the wiser. I exhaled in relief. At least our daughter wasn't witnessing the meltdown. Chelsea's father asked in a lower tone, Wyatt, are you serious about divorcing her? I met his eyes, unwavering. I am. I can't trust her again. She violated everything we had. I don't see a path forward. Chelsea whimpered. I'll do anything to fix this. I'll cut all ties with Howard. We can do counseling. Please, Wyatt. Remember how we used to be. I swallowed the lump of old memories. Laughter on our wedding day, the birth of Kiara, Sunday mornings cuddling in bed. But those memories felt so far away, overshadowed by the taste of betrayal. You should have thought of that before, I said quietly. Her mother gently touched Chelsea's shoulder. Sweetheart, you put yourself in this position. Chelsea's face twisted in regret and frustration. I know I messed up. But to lose everything? Kiara? The house? I can't. I raised a hand. You should think about where you'll stay tonight. I don't want you sleeping here. She closed her eyes, tears coursing again. I'll go to my parents. Her father nodded stiffly. Yes, you should. Tomorrow we'll figure out next steps. Then he looked at me. Wyatt, for what it's worth, I'm deeply sorry. You've been a good husband. I had no idea she'd do something like this. I respected the sincerity in his voice. I appreciate that. But right now, I just need her out. She left to pack a small suitcase. I stood by the window, arms crossed, mind reeling. I heard her upstairs, rummaging, sometimes sobbing. Part of me ached to see her in such pain. 8 years of devotion doesn't vanish overnight. But a stronger part of me insisted this was her rightful consequence. Her parents hovered uncomfortably. Her mother whispered to me, if you find it in your heart to forgive eventually, we'd appreciate it. I said nothing. In my head, the answer was a firm no. Kiara deserved a stable environment. If I took her back now, what would stop her from straying again? Finally, Chelsea came downstairs with a bag. Her face looked hollowed out. She paused near me, trembling. "Wyatt, please. You know I love Kiara with all my heart. Don't keep me away from her." I responded calmly. "If you want to see her, we'll arrange visits. But living under the same roof isn't happening. I'll speak to a lawyer Monday morning." She bowed her head, tears dropping to the floor. Without another word, she walked out the front door. Her parents cast me a sorrowful glance and followed. The door shut. Silence flooded the house. I collapsed onto the couch, heart hammering. The tidal wave of adrenaline that had sustained me began to crash. My eyes burned with tears I refused to shed. I took a shuddering breath, replaying the confrontation in my mind. The shock on her face, the heartbreak on our parents' faces. I half expected to feel triumphant, but I only felt shattered. Still, the unwavering sense of necessity remained. She had to go. I texted Jennifer. "It's over. She's gone. You can bring Kiara home soon." Within an hour, Jennifer returned, Kiara happily clutching a new stuffed animal. She ran up to me. "Daddy, look what Aunt Jen got me." I mustered a smile, scooping her up for a hug. "That's adorable, sweetie." She peered around. "Where's Mommy?" I froze, exchanging a tense glance with Jennifer. "Mommy is staying with Grandma and Grandpa tonight." Kiara frowned. "Why?" I gently stroked her hair. "She just has some grown-up stuff to figure out." "Nothing for you to worry about." She nodded, uncertain, then scurried off to show the stuffed animal its new home in her bedroom. Jennifer rubbed my arm. "You okay?" I shook my head. "Not really, but it's done." Sunday morning, I woke with a pounding headache, still reeling from the emotional toll. I trudged into the kitchen to find Jennifer brewing coffee. She studied me with concern. "You barely slept, huh?" I shrugged. "Hard to shut my brain off." She bit her lip. "Chelsea texted me last night, said she's sorry, begging me to talk sense into you." A flicker of anger rose. "She's the one who lost sense, not me." Agreed. Jennifer set the coffee mug in front of me. "Listen, I know it's not my place, but are you absolutely sure you want a divorce? People can change." I stared at the steaming mug, recalling the sting of that used condom wrapper, the text messages, the recordings. She didn't just slip up once, Jen. She kept lying for months. She risked our finances, our family, everything. That's not someone you fix with a Band-Aid. Jennifer exhaled. "I get it. Just wanted to check." Kiara patted in, yawning. She blinked at me, noticing my grim expression. "Daddy, can we do something fun today?" My chest tightened. "Yeah, sweetheart. Let's go to the park." Her grin lit up the room. For a moment, I forgot the heartbreak. Then I remembered the uphill battle awaiting me. The legal fight, the custody arrangement, the raw wound in my chest. But Kiara needed me to be stable, so I'd be stable. While Kiara played on the swings that afternoon, I scrolled through my phone, searching for top-rated divorce attorneys in Denver. I settled on a firm known for handling complex cases. My determination steeled. I'd gather all my evidence, present it, and ensure I had full custody. If Chelsea wanted partial custody, she'd have to fight. Part of me felt savage at the idea of restricting her from Kiara. But an affair is more than a betrayal of me. It's a betrayal of our child's trust, too, even if Kiara doesn't realize it yet. I needed to protect my daughter from instability. When we got back home, I found an email from Chelsea in my inbox. Subject: "Please, talk to me." "Wyatt, I know what I did was unforgivable, but I'm begging you to let me explain. I never meant to fall for Howard. It started as a silly fling. I was lonely and resentful about you always being at SWAT training or missions. One thing led to another, and I got addicted to the excitement. It sounds so stupid now. I hate myself for hurting you. I hate that I let it go on so long. I don't want to lose you or Kiara. Please, can't we try counseling or a temporary separation instead of divorce? I love you. I always have. I read it twice, emotions swirling. Addicted to the excitement. She was bored with me, bored with normal life, so she found a fling that gave her a thrill. Now that she'd been exposed, she was sorry. Could I believe she was sorry for the affair itself, or just sorry for getting caught? I closed the email. I didn't respond. Monday morning, I scheduled an appointment with the divorce attorney for the following day. I spent the rest of the day compiling everything. The audio recordings, text screenshots, photos of that condom wrapper, the suspicious credit card statements. My heart clenched each time I opened a file, but a calm, methodical part of me insisted, this is how you secure your future. Jennifer tried to keep Kiara occupied. Meanwhile, I typed up a timeline of suspicious events, culminating in the meltdown dinner. I also typed a separate note about my finances, my SWAT salary, the mortgage. If the court questioned my ability to provide, I'd show them how stable my income was, how supportive my schedule could be with the help of Jennifer or daycare. It felt cold to approach my marriage this way. But how else do you handle a spouse who betrayed you so thoroughly? That afternoon, Perry called. I heard what happened on Saturday through the grapevine. I sighed. Word travels fast, I guess. Yeah, well, some of your SWAT buddies told me you might be going through a divorce. You okay? As okay as I can be. He hesitated. Listen, about the stuff I did, running a quick check on Howard, etc., I hope it helped. It did. Thank you. Sure. If you need anything else, I'm here. I swallowed. Thanks, man. The kindness from a friend warmed me slightly, reminding me I wasn't alone. I was forging a new path, painful as it was. That evening, while I cooked dinner for Kiara, my phone lit up with a call from her grandparents. I picked up, expecting them to plead for me to reconcile. It was her father. Wyatt, I just wanted to say we love you like a son. We're ashamed of Chelsea's actions. We can't defend her. But we do worry about Kiara, about not losing contact with her. I softened. I'd never keep you from your granddaughter. You can see her any time. You just need to coordinate with me. He exhaled relief. Thank you. As for Chelsea, well, we're pushing her to get therapy. She's in a bad state. I understand if you can't forgive her. But if you ever, I don't know, man. This is just devastating all around. My voice grew tight. I appreciate your concern. I'm sorry, too. But I have to do what's best for Kiara and me. Understood. I hung up, chest heavy. Her father's sorrow mirrored my own sense of tragedy. But I wasn't budging. Late that night, after Kiara slept, I reread every piece of evidence, ensuring I was fully prepared for the attorney. The flash drive glowed ominously in my laptop. The images from our hidden camera confrontation, my father's stern face, her mother's weeping form, Howard's panic. That single evening changed everything. I closed the files, shut the laptop, and gazed around the house. Our pictures on the walls, wedding day snapshots, Kiara's baby photos, holiday gatherings, all tainted now. A swirl of conflicting memories battered me, but I wouldn't let them tear me down. I trudged upstairs. The master bedroom felt hauntingly large, half the closet empty, where Chelsea's clothes used to hang. I sank onto the mattress, feeling a mixture of anguish and grim resolve. In SWAT operations, there's a moment after the dust settles when you review your actions, check for mistakes, and confirm the mission's outcome. This was that moment for me personally. I was confident in my choice. No matter how lonely or resentful she'd felt, no matter how many excuses she conjured, she had broken a sacred bond. If I let her off the hook, it would cheapen everything. And so ended Chapter 3 of this saga, with me preparing to take the final legal steps, forging ahead as a single father determined to shield Kiara from any further deceit. I remember stepping out of the attorney's office that Monday, my head pounding as though someone had struck me with a battering ram. Outside, the sun was bright, far too bright for the mood I was in. It felt like the entire world should be cloaked in gray to match my inner turmoil. Yet, a part of me held steady because I knew I had done what needed to be done. I leaned against my car and closed my eyes, replaying the conversation with the lawyer. She was confident, almost excited, which felt jarring considering the shattered state of my life. She rattled off terms like marital misconduct, adultery evidence, full custody, and irreconcilable differences, all of which, in her words, gave me an incredibly strong case. I tried to ignore the twinge of guilt at how final it sounded. A week ago, I might have still toyed with the notion that Chelsea was just flirting or losing her mind for a brief moment. But there was no brief moment about it. She'd carried on this affair with Howard for months, forging lies and elaborate covers. I'd discovered everything, and the attorney was more than ready to turn those discoveries into legal ammunition. As I turned the key in the ignition, my phone buzzed. I glanced at the screen. A text from Jennifer. "Kiara's fine, don't worry. Just let me know when you're coming home." She'd taken Kiara to the park again. In a single day, it felt like my entire support structure had shifted onto Jennifer's shoulders. She was the one person in the house who wasn't lying to me, who offered to keep Kiara's life as normal as possible. I texted back a quick thanks and started the drive back. The entire ride home, I was haunted by images of the meltdown 2 nights before. Chelsea, sobbing in the living room, Howard fleeing with curses on his lips, our parents looking at me with shock and heartbreak. That memory crawled under my skin like an itch I couldn't reach. But it was necessary. I reminded myself over and over, I had no choice. She forced my hand by cheating and deceiving me. Once I pulled into the driveway, I saw Jennifer's car missing, presumably still out with Kiara. The house felt disturbingly quiet when I stepped inside. In the hallway, I caught sight of a framed photo of Chelsea and me from our 5th anniversary. We were smiling, arms wrapped around each other in front of a fancy restaurant. My stomach twisted at the sight. Rage flashed in my mind. I wanted to tear it from the wall and smash it. Instead, I set my briefcase down, forced myself to breathe. I had to keep calm for Kiara's sake, for my own sake. This revenge path I'd chosen demanded a steady hand. If I let emotion dictate everything, I'd lose my composure and potentially sabotage my own legal advantage. I needed to gather documents for the attorney. "Tomorrow," she'd said, "we'll file the formal complaint for divorce." That meant bank statements, property info, insurance documents, anything that could prove I was the stable parent. I marched upstairs to the master bedroom, my bedroom now, I supposed. She'd taken a few clothes when she stormed out, but most of her stuff was still here. A swirl of anger and sadness rushed over me. The closet door was half open, revealing her dresses, some business attire. My mind conjured up images. She'd probably worn those dresses for him, one of them maybe for the networking dinners, that ended up in a hotel bed. I yanked out a large box from under the bed. Inside, I kept our joint financial records, tax returns, mortgage statements, credit card details. I flipped through them methodically. This was part of my new life, building a bulletproof legal case to keep my daughter and push Chelsea out of our finances. She had spent hundreds, no, thousands on dinners and hotels over the past few months. The statements didn't lie. In my mind, it was like discovering a new dimension of her betrayal. "You used my money for your secret fling." My phone chimed again. I tensed, half expecting more frantic messages from her, but it was from the attorney. Any chance you can collect documentation of all questionable charges from the past 6 months? Also, any evidence of neglected household bills? I typed a curt reply. Yes, I'm gathering them now. Will bring tomorrow. The hush of the house allowed my darkest thoughts to surface. As I rummaged through the documents, I started remembering the sweet moments from our earlier years. Our wedding day, her in a flowing white gown, me in a SWAT blue tux, with my buddies joking that if she tried to run, they'd track her down. Or the day we brought Kiara home from the hospital. So much laughter and tears of joy. Where did that couple go? I wondered. When did we lose ourselves? I bristled. No matter how many times she or her parents might claim that my SWAT schedule drove her into loneliness, there were 1,000 better ways to handle loneliness than hooking up with some shark-like business consultant. I slammed the box lid shut, anger bubbling again. I refused to wallow. I'd done enough of that. Now, I had to finalize the kill shot in this marital war. I heard the door downstairs. Kiara's voice, bright and innocent, echoed through the hallway. "Daddy, we saw ducks at the pond. They were so cute." Forcing a smile, I headed down to greet her. Jennifer stood behind, a subdued expression on her face. She mouthed, "You okay?" I gave a small nod. Kiara ran up with open arms. I scooped her up, pressing a kiss to her forehead. "I'm glad you had fun, Angel." She wrinkled her nose. "You smell like boxes." I laughed. "I'm going through paperwork." She made a face. "Boring." Jennifer cleared her throat. We got groceries on the way home. I can make dinner if you want." My chest flooded with gratitude. "Thanks, Jen. I appreciate it." Kiara tugged at my sleeve. "Daddy, can I watch cartoons before dinner?" I set her down. "Sure, sweetheart, go pick something." She dashed away, leaving Jennifer and me exchanging glances. Finally, I said, "I talked to the lawyer. Tomorrow we file." Jennifer sighed. "How are you feeling about that?" I exhaled. "It's the right move. She forced this. I'm done." Jennifer gave a supportive nod. "Okay, let's get through it. I'll help however I can." That evening, as Jennifer cooked spaghetti, Kiara sat on the couch with her stuffed animals, half watching cartoons. I sorted more documents at the dining table. The normalcy of the scene was surreal, like a calm domestic picture. Except the wife was missing because she destroyed our marriage. Halfway through rummaging, I noticed a thick manila envelope tucked behind some older files. Curiosity piqued, I pulled it out. Inside were older photos, some from before we were married, and even from our honeymoon. I found an old shot, me in a goofy hat holding Chelsea's hand at a beach in California. Her smile was brilliant, eyes crinkled with genuine happiness. A dagger of grief stabbed my heart. We once loved each other that deeply. I clenched my jaw, shoved the pictures aside. She's not that woman anymore. The woman I married wouldn't risk our daughter's future for a fling. The woman I married wouldn't poison our finances with secret hotel bills. I forced myself to keep going. If I sat in sorrow, I'd never stand. After dinner, Jennifer gently told Kiara to head upstairs for bath time. I cleared the plates in silence, mind drifting to the next steps. We'll file the formal complaint for divorce tomorrow morning. Then we wait for the response. Possibly a hearing for temporary custody. Then the real battle begins. I stacked dishes by the sink, water running. My phone buzzed again. Another email from Chelsea. "Wyatt, I know you must hate me right now, but I can't sleep, thinking of Kiara. Can I see her tomorrow? Please let me know. I'd like to pick her up from school if that's okay. I'll bring her back by dinner." I'm not trying to steal her, I just miss my daughter. Part of me wanted to hiss that she lost the right to have casual pickups. Another part of me dreaded Kiara's sadness if I refused. I decided to ignore the message until I consulted my attorney. That was my new standard procedure. Later that night, I sat in the living room with Jennifer, quietly sipping coffee while Kiara slept. She broke the silence softly. "Chelsea's been texting me too. She says she's sorry, that she was stupid. She begs me to tell you to talk to her." I studied the coffee. "You can see how cunning she is. She wants sympathy from you. Maybe she thinks you'll sway me." Jennifer frowned. "I told her she should talk to her lawyer." I nodded. "Good. She can't manipulate me anymore." Jennifer toyed with a strand of her hair. "I never thought my sister would do something like this, but you've changed too, Wyatt. In a way, I never thought possible." "What do you mean?" She blew out a breath. "I mean, you used to be more easygoing, more flexible. Now you're, I don't know, sharper? Harder. It's like you locked all your softness behind a wall." I swallowed. I can't afford softness. Not if I want to protect Kiara. Jennifer pressed her lips together. "I understand. I just hope someday you heal." My phone rang around 9. Perry's name flashed on the screen. I picked up, stepping into the hallway for privacy. "Hey," he said in a low tone. "I did some quiet digging. Howard Jacobs was a freelance corporate strategist. He's losing contracts left and right since the confrontation. Word spread he's untrustworthy, embroiled in scandal." A grim satisfaction swelled in me. "Good. He deserves it." Perry cleared his throat. "Look, legally you're on strong ground. Just watch out for any countersuits. Chelsea might claim you invaded her privacy with the recordings." I let out a humorless chuckle. "They were from my car. My house. My name's on the lease. She has no right to privacy if she's using my resources to cheat." That might not fly so easily in front of certain judges, but I get your logic. Silence fell between us. Then he asked quietly, "You holding up okay?" I rubbed my eyes. Some days are better. I keep telling myself I'm doing it for Kiara. He exhaled. "Keep your head, Wyatt. Don't let hate burn you up. You've done enough to prove you won't be messed with." By the time I went to bed, I felt more drained than after a 12-hour SWAT shift. I lay in the darkness, the emptiness of the bed glaring. My mind drifted to the confrontation again. The look on her face when I pulled out the recordings. The tears. The pleas. But for every flicker of pity, a wave of anger rose. She didn't pity me when she was sneaking out at midnight. She didn't pity Kiara's confusion. She only pitied herself now that she'd been caught. I turned on my side, whispering to the darkness, "No more. We move forward." That was how Chapter 4 ended. Me lying awake in bed, forging my will into steel to ensure that by the next morning, I'd be ready to file those divorce papers, unstoppable in my pursuit of finality. I woke early, as if my internal clock refused to give me peace. Dawn light filtered through the blinds. The memory of last night's resolve stirred me to get up immediately. I dressed in a crisp button-down and black trousers, my version of court attire, and headed downstairs. Jennifer was already there, yawning over a mug of tea. Kiara was still asleep. "You're off to the lawyer's?" she asked, rubbing her eyes. "Yeah," I said, double-checking that I had the folder of evidence. "I want to get there as soon as they open." She nodded. "I'll drop Kiara at school." I paused, grateful once again for her help. "Thanks. I'll pick her up if everything goes quickly." She offered a tentative smile. "One day at a time, Wyatt?" I mustered a thin smile back, then left. Traffic felt surreal, my mind half churning with anger, half-laced with sorrow. I forced myself to focus. The lawyer's office was about a 20-minute drive. Enough time to mentally rehearse what I'd say, or to banish any last-second doubts. At the office, I was greeted by a receptionist who recognized me from the day before. She politely offered coffee and ushered me into the attorney's corner room. "Good morning," the attorney said, setting aside a stack of papers. "You have everything?" I slid the folder across the desk. "Bank records, credit card statements with suspicious charges highlighted, transcripts of the recordings." Her eyebrows rose in approval. "Efficient." I took a seat, exhaling. "I want full custody. She can see Kiara, but on my terms, and no spousal support." The attorney nodded, flipping through the docs. "We'll file for primary physical and legal custody, citing marital misconduct. Colorado is a no-fault state, but we can leverage the financial aspects she used marital funds to conduct her affair." Inside, I tensed. Whatever it takes to protect my daughter. For the next hour, we hammered out details. The official language for irreconcilable differences, how to present the evidence if it went to trial, what we'd request in terms of child support or a set arrangement. We also drafted a response for if Chelsea tried to claim half the house. My attorney typed notes rapidly. "We'll ask the court for a temporary custody hearing soon. Usually the judge grants a hearing to determine who keeps the marital home. Given your daughter's well-being, plus your evidence, we have a strong shot at you remaining in the home, forcing her to find other housing." I stared at the papers. "She's already living with her parents, I think." "Good. She can stay there." She paused, eyeing me. "Wyatt, you sound resolute." I met her gaze. "I am." She shattered my trust. "This is about my daughter now." By the time I left the attorney's office, the divorce complaint was officially filed. The clerk would serve Chelsea the formal papers soon, if she hasn't been served the initial notice from the meltdown night, I mused. She'd definitely be expecting it. But the final blow was in motion. Outside, a breeze carried a faint chill. Autumn was creeping in. My phone buzzed. Unknown number. I hesitated, then answered. "Wyatt, it's me," came Chelsea's trembling voice. She must have used someone else's phone. My pulse kicked. I steadied myself. "What do you want?" She sniffed. I got a message from your lawyer. Something about official papers. Are you really doing this?" Rage simmered. "You expected me not to?" A shaky breath on the other end. "I messed up, Wyatt. I'm sorry, I can't sleep, can't eat. I keep thinking about how we can fix this. I'll sign anything you want that guarantees you get the house, but please don't keep me from Kiara." I clenched my fist. "That's up to the court now." She began sobbing. "You're punishing me. I deserve it, but she doesn't. Please, let's do this amicably for Kiara." My jaw tightened. "Amicably? You call what you did to our marriage amicable?" She let out a tortured sound. "I regret everything. I was lonely, I was stupid. I just want my daughter." My heart twisted painfully. "You should have thought about that before sneaking into hotels at midnight." Silence. Then a broken whisper. "I guess I deserve this." I hung up, chest heaving. I drove home in a daze, replaying her pleas. She sounded genuinely remorseful, but I couldn't unsee the months of lies. I marched into the house, determined not to let guilt unravel me. Jennifer was in the living room sorting laundry. She glanced up. "Everything done?" "Yeah, all filed." She bit her lip, studying me. "Chelsea's been blowing up my phone, too." I sank into a chair, running a hand over my face. "She just called from a different number, begging me not to keep Kiara from her." Jennifer exhaled. "You're going for full custody, right? Did you specify any visitation?" "Supervised, at least initially," I said, trying to keep my tone even. She nodded. "That's probably wise. Kiara needs stability." I gazed at the ceiling. Part of me hates that I'm in this position, you know? I never wanted to cut off Kiara from her mom, but I can't let her think it's okay to walk all over me. Jennifer walked over, placed a folded t-shirt on the table. Wyatt, you do what you have to. Just remember, Kiara loves her mother no matter what. Eventually, you might need to let them have some normal relationship once all the dust settles. I sighed. We'll see. That afternoon, I picked Kiara up from school. She bounded out, her pink backpack bouncing. "Daddy!" She ran into my arms. That single moment was worth all the turmoil. On the way home, she chatted about her day, how she and her friend Ava colored pictures of unicorns. I asked if she was okay, about her teacher, about anything that might trouble her. She seemed happy enough, though occasionally she'd say, "When's Mommy coming back?" I kept my voice calm. "Mommy and I need some time apart, but you can talk to her soon. She loves you." Kiara frowned at the car window. "Why can't we all just live together? Did I do something bad?" My heart squeezed. "No, sweetie. You're perfect. This is grown-up stuff." She sighed, a childish sigh, turning to watch the passing streets. "I'm doing the right thing," I reassured myself. Better to have one stable parent than two in a sham marriage. I tried to keep the evening routine normal. We did Kiara's homework, had mac and cheese for dinner, watched a kids' show. Jennifer retreated to her room to study. Eventually, Kiara asked if she could call Chelsea. My stomach nodded, but I said yes, remembering I'd told the attorney I wouldn't obstruct simple phone contact. So I dialed Chelsea's number, put the phone on speaker for Kiara. "Mommy?" Kiara said softly. Chelsea's voice came through, cracking with emotion. "Hi, baby. How was school?" "Good. We learned about leaves changing color. I miss you, Mommy. When are you coming home?" A beat of silence. Chelsea's breath wavered. "I miss you so much, honey. Mommy's staying at Grandma's for now. But I'll see you soon, okay?" Kiara blinked at me, confusion in her eyes. "But Daddy said—" I gently cut in. "Kiara, let Mommy speak." Chelsea sniffed. "I'm so sorry things are like this, sweetie. Just know I love you." Kiara pouted. "I love you too, Mommy." She paused, glancing at me again. "Daddy's here." Chelsea's voice turned strained. "Wyatt, can I talk to you for a sec?" I tensed. "Kiara, why don't you go get a glass of water, huh?" She slipped off the couch, handing me the phone. Once out of earshot, I said quietly, "Say what you need to say, but keep it short." Chelsea exhaled shakily. "We can figure out a custody arrangement without a nasty court fight. Please, for Kiara's sake." My jaw clenched. "You want to avoid a fight now that you realize how strong my case is?" She let out a soft sob. "I just don't want Kiara to be traumatized. God, Wyatt, I know I messed up, but I can be a good mother." The anger in me flared. A good mother doesn't vanish at midnight to meet her affair partner, leaving her child confused. A pause. "I guess you'll never forgive me." My voice was cold. "Stop saying you guess. You know I won't. Good night, Chelsea." I hung up, arms trembling. That night after Kiara fell asleep, Jennifer reappeared. We sat in the living room, the weight of tension lingering. "How long does the legal process usually take?" she asked quietly. I shrugged, massaging my temple. "Months, maybe longer, but I'm hoping to get a temporary order soon. Then, finalizing everything depends on negotiations or a trial." She frowned. "A trial? That sounds nasty." "Yeah, but if she contests custody or tries to get alimony, it might go that way." Jennifer curled her legs under her. "Do you think she'll fight? She sounded desperate in her messages to me." I stared at the flickering lamp. She's desperate enough to say anything, but deep down, she knows she's at fault. The question is whether her lawyer will encourage a fight or not. Jennifer fiddled with a pillow. And Howard? I scoffed. He's out of the picture. Last I heard, he's losing clients and might leave town. Good riddance. A brief silence. Then Jennifer ventured, "You know, once this is done, you can move on. Maybe find someone who respects you." That notion felt far away. I nodded, but couldn't muster enthusiasm. "I'm not sure I trust anyone right now." I tried to sleep again, but my mind wouldn't shut off. Around midnight, I found myself pacing the kitchen. My phone buzzed an email from the attorney. Subject line, "Evening update." She outlined that the divorce complaint was served, so the clock started for Chelsea's official response. She also mentioned we might schedule a hearing for temporary child custody in a couple of weeks. 2 weeks, I thought, of living in limbo. At least Jennifer was around to help with Kiara. I poured a glass of water, staring out the window into the darkness. My reflection glared back. A man hollowed out by betrayal, yet fueled by determination. I whispered, "I won't let them see me broken. Not Chelsea, not Howard, not anyone." Morning came again, bringing a swirl of routine. Kiara off to school, me sorting more legal documents. By midday, a knock sounded at the front door. It was a process server who left me a note. Evidently, we had a preliminary hearing date set for next week regarding custody. That was faster than I expected. My heart thudded. This is it, the next step. Part of me felt relief. Another part braced for the confrontation in court. I pictured Chelsea trying to defend her affair or downplay it. Let her try. I had everything I needed. And so ended Chapter 5 with the swirl of legal steps intensifying, me standing in the doorway, holding official papers for a hearing that would decide the immediate future of my daughter and me, while Chelsea scrambled to cling to whatever shards remained of her maternal rights. 1 week. That's all the time I had to prepare for the preliminary custody hearing. In theory, these hearings are quick and focus on immediate stability for the child, who stays in the marital home, how visitation is arranged, etc. But to me, it felt like a high-stakes mission. Every day leading up to it, I fine-tuned my evidence. My attorney gave me a list of potential questions. Why do you believe you're the more suitable parent? Has your job as a SWAT officer ever interfered with your ability to care for Kiara? Is Chelsea capable of stable parenting despite the affair? I practiced my answers, focusing on calm, factual responses. I wouldn't let my anger overshadow my logic in front of the judge. Meanwhile, Chelsea kept emailing me, sometimes tearful pleas, sometimes defiant remarks about how she was still Kiara's mother. I forwarded everything to my attorney, ignoring them otherwise. A few times, Kiara asked if Mommy could pick her up from school, but I refused. Not until the hearing decides. Jennifer grew concerned about Kiara's mood. My daughter smiled less, occasionally grew irritable. She sensed the tension even if she didn't fully grasp it. One afternoon, Kiara whined, "I don't want Aunt Jen to pick me up, I want Mommy." I knelt beside her. "Sweetheart, your mom can't do that right now. It's complicated." Her eyes watered. "You two keep saying grown-up stuff. I just want her back." My heart twisted. I swallowed, hugging her. "I know, baby. But trust me, Daddy's making sure everything is okay." She sniffled and nodded, hugging me back. In that moment, I renewed my resolve. I'm doing the right thing, even if it hurts. 3 days before the hearing, I got a call from Perry. He'd spoken to a contact who'd hinted that Chelsea's lawyer might try a new angle. Claiming you were so busy with SWAT that you neglected the family, driving her to an affair. Fury lit up in me. That's her excuse? That I forced her into some random guy's bed? Perry sighed. Relax, man. It's a typical tactic to spin partial blame. They might also say your job is dangerous, and that Kiara might be safer with a mother who's more present. I clenched my jaw. They're ignoring the fact that I have Jennifer's help, stable finances, and the fact that Chelsea was the one ditching Kiara to meet Howard. True. Just be ready. Don't let them goad you into an emotional outburst in court. I thanked him, then hung up, pacing the living room. Emotional outburst like a suspect being interrogated. I had to remain calm. In SWAT, you never lose your head. Keep that approach here. Jennifer noticed my agitated state and asked if I wanted to do a short run around the neighborhood to clear my head. I agreed, changed into workout clothes, and we jogged slowly through the suburban streets. I can't believe the nerve, I fumed, breath quickening. They want to blame me for her affair because I work a stressful job? Jennifer gave me a sympathetic glance. They might try anything, but you have a consistent record of being a good father. You've never missed a day picking Kiara up unless you were literally on a call. You handle most of her routine. I nodded, sweat beading on my forehead. And you'll testify if needed, right? She pressed her lips. Of course. But I hope it doesn't go that far. Maybe the judge sees the evidence and makes an obvious call. We looped back toward the house, my anger partially vented through exercise. I hope so, I muttered. The night before the hearing, I sat with my attorney in her office to finalize our approach. She had printed copies of texts, the condom wrapper photo, the recordings, transcribed. We didn't plan to present every single piece. It was a custody hearing, not the full divorce trial. But we wanted enough to show Chelsea's lack of responsibility. She tapped the folder. We'll highlight how her repeated late nights impacted Kiara's schedule, and how you had to rely on Jennifer to fill the gap. We'll mention the suspicious financial usage that left you covering all household expenses. I nodded, tension coiling in my stomach. And if they mention my job? She gave me a confident smile. We'll explain you have supportive extended family, Jennifer, to help with Kiara's routine. Plus, your SWAT schedule is flexible enough that if you're called out, there's immediate backup at home. I exhaled, grateful for the plan. That's true. And I have references from my SWAT captain, if needed. She nodded. We might not need them, but it's good to have. Judges often appreciate stable, extended support networks. We parted ways with a handshake. Tomorrow, I thought grimly, I face her in court. I barely slept that night. Memories of me and Chelsea, early in our relationship, floated through my mind. The way she used to greet me with a smile whenever I came home from a mission. How we'd stay up late chatting about trivial things. Hearts beating as one. That's all gone. Before dawn, I slipped quietly from bed, got dressed in my suit. Jennifer woke to help with Kiara's morning routine, letting me leave early for the courthouse. My heart pounded like I was prepping for a high-risk breach. But this was a different battlefield. At the courthouse hallway, I spotted my attorney first. Then I saw Chelsea, hair pulled back, eyes puffy as though she'd been crying. Her lawyer stood beside her, an older man in a gray suit. Chelsea glanced up, our gazes locking. She looked away, guilt evident. We filed into the courtroom, a modest space with a wooden bench for the judge. People milled about with hushed voices. The judge entered, calling the session to order. The clerk read out the case details. Wyatt Carter versus Chelsea Carter, preliminary custody hearing. My attorney went first, outlining the key points. Mr. Bay, Carter seeks primary physical custody based on the mother's neglectful behavior, which includes repeated absences from the home late at night, misusing marital funds for an extramarital affair, and thus failing to provide a stable environment for their daughter Kiara. She mentioned how I arranged consistent care for Kiara, managed finances responsibly, and had supportive family. She didn't go into lurid detail about the affair, only referencing it as a cause of instability. Then Chelsea's lawyer spoke. He tried to argue that my SWAT job was high risk, that Kiara might be left with babysitters often. He claimed Chelsea's affair was a short lapse in judgment, but insisted it didn't reflect her parenting ability. The judge asked me questions. I answered calmly, stating I love my job, but always ensure Kiara is cared for. Jennifer assists, and I make time for my daughter despite the schedule. I explained that for months, Chelsea left Kiara in Jennifer's care, not to work, but to see another man. Chelsea's lawyer had her testify briefly. She insisted she never neglected Kiara, that she fed and clothed her, and that her mistakes with Howard didn't mean she was a bad mother. She looked at me, tears shining. I know I hurt Wyatt, but I never meant to hurt Kiara. I was just lost. I clenched my jaw, fighting the urge to retort. My attorney gave me a reassuring glance, reminding me to keep composure. The judge asked if I had proof of her consistent overnight or late-night absences that impacted Kiara. That's when my attorney offered partial phone records, text exchanges, and some notations from Jennifer's statements about how she had to babysit Kiara on short notice. The judge skimmed them, frowning. Finally, the judge took a moment scanning both sets of evidence. My heart pounded. The clock ticked in my mind, each second slower than the last. Then the judge spoke. In light of the evidence presented, particularly Ms. Carter's repeated late absences, the questionable financial usage, and Mr. Carter's stable plan for Kiara, I find it in Kiara's best interest to remain primarily with Mr. Carter at this time. Mrs. Carter shall have supervised visitation once a week until further review. We'll revisit custody if circumstances change. But for now, the child will reside in the marital home with Mr. Carter. A rush of relief swept through me. I heard Chelsea let out a choked sob behind me. The judge added that we'd schedule a follow-up hearing in a couple of months, giving her time to demonstrate stability or improvement. We exited the courtroom. My attorney congratulated me quietly. That's a strong start. You keep Kiara, keep the house. Supervised visitation is rare, but the judge clearly sees your side. Chelsea hung back with her lawyer. Tears streamed down her cheeks. She caught my eye, whispered, "You're breaking me, Wyatt." I swallowed, unwavering. "You broke us first." She didn't respond. Her lawyer gently steered her away, no doubt planning their next move. But I was triumphant. I'd done exactly what I set out to do, secure Kiara's future with me. And so ended Chapter 6, with me walking out of the courthouse, official papers in hand, the judge's words echoing in my mind. Primary custody, supervised visitation. I had won the first major battle in this war. The heartbreak still loomed, but my paternal victory stood firm. I often think back to that moment outside the courthouse, the concrete steps, the afternoon sun slanting across my face. I remember the tension leaving my body as though I'd been wearing a weighted vest for months. It's strange how a single ruling can change everything, and yet it can't fix what's broken on the inside. The legal side of my revenge was complete. I had primary custody, no alimony obligations, and the house was mine. Chelsea left the courtroom in tears, her life in pieces. Howard was a ghost, presumably drifting off to bury himself somewhere else. I told myself I should feel victorious, yet a deeper part of me was still quietly raging, still grappling with the emotional shrapnel lodged in my heart. A day after the hearing, I found myself leaning against my car in Kiara's school parking lot, waiting to pick her up. The fall wind had a bite to it. Leaves tumbled along the pavement. I had left work early. My SWAT team commander, Captain Jablonski, insisted I take some personal time to settle things at home. Parents trickled out with their kids. One by one, Children rushed from the school doors, backpacks bouncing, squealing their goodbyes. Kiara emerged at last, her bright pink jacket zipped to her chin, and she smiled as soon as she saw me. She dashed forward, hair swinging. "Daddy!" She nearly jumped into my arms. I scooped her up, feeling her warmth against me. "Hey, Angel," I murmured. "How was school?" "It was good. We made paper pumpkins. Look." She shoved a crumpled orange craft at me, scrawled with glitter and construction paper. "Mine's the spookiest." I smiled. "Definitely scary. We'll hang it on the fridge, right?" Her face lit up. "Yes. Aunt Jen said we can decorate for Halloween soon." The mention of Jennifer warmed my chest. She'd truly become a rock in Kiara's life and in mine. As we walked to the car, I noticed a few other parents whispering, glancing my way. Some offered polite nods, others quickly looked away. Word about my divorce had gotten around. A mixture of pity and curiosity tainted their stares. "Daddy," Kiara whispered, "everyone keeps asking me if you and Mommy are okay." I forced a reassuring tone. "We're fine, honey. They just don't know the details." She seemed to accept that. Still, it reinforced how gossip traveled fast. No matter how hard I tried to keep it quiet, a SWAT officer's messy divorce was bound to raise eyebrows. On the drive home, Kiara peppered me with questions about dinner, TV time, and whether we could visit the park the next day. It was comforting her normalcy. She'd grown used to living in the house without Chelsea around. Sure, she missed her mother, but supervised visits at a local community center had begun. They lasted an hour or two, twice a week. It was awkward, with a social worker present, but I wasn't ready to trust Chelsea alone with my daughter yet. Traffic was moderate. I tapped the steering wheel, my mind drifting to the swirl of changes. Chelsea's meltdown, the judge's final decree, the swirl of forms and official notices from the court. My attorney had told me the dissolution was final, but there was still the settlement of smaller financial assets. Nothing big remained. She lost the chance to keep the house or get spousal support. Kiara broke my reverie with a sudden question. "Daddy, can Mommy come to my soccer practice next week?" I gripped the wheel. "Your practice is Tuesday, right? Mommy's visits are on Wednesdays and Saturdays right now." She pouted. "But I want her to watch me play." I glanced at her in the rearview mirror. "We'll see if the schedule can change, but it has to go through the center. Remember, it's not just up to me." She huffed, crossing her arms. A pang of guilt twisted inside me. I hated that my daughter felt caught in the middle, but I refused to budge on full, unsupervised time for Chelsea. She lost that right, I reminded myself. We arrived home, a modest, suburban two-story. As we walked in, Jennifer was in the living room, flipping through a textbook. She looked up, offering Kiara a high five. "Hey, champ, how was your day?" Kiara showed off her paper pumpkin, then wandered to the couch to watch cartoons. I set her backpack aside and exchanged a glance with Jennifer. She lowered her voice. She asked about Chelsea. "Yeah? She wants her at soccer practice." Jennifer's lips formed a thin line. "That's tough. Chelsea texted me again begging for more time with Kiara. She claims she's stable enough to handle a practice without supervision." A surge of anger rose in me. "Stable enough? After all that? She's lucky she gets any visits." Jennifer exhaled. "I agree. But I also hate seeing Kiara torn." I rubbed my neck. "I know." We left it at that, the tension thick. I couldn't deny the sadness of it all, but I also wouldn't sacrifice the stability Kiara needed just to appease Chelsea's regret. Around dinner time, I got a call from my SWAT buddy, Mac. He asked if I wanted to join the guys for a beer at a local sports bar. Something gnawed at me. Maybe I should get out, see them socially. Yet, I hesitated, looking at Kiara in the living room. Jennifer nudged me. Go ahead, Wyatt. I'll handle things here. You never get a break. Kiara overheard and bounded over. You're going out, Daddy? Where? I crouched to meet her gaze. Maybe just to see some friends for a bit. Aunt Jen will put you to bed, okay? I'll be back soon. Her lower lip quivered as if she might protest, but then she shrugged. Okay. My heart warmed at her resilience. I'll see you before you fall asleep, I promised. So I changed into more casual clothes, gave Kiara a hug, and stepped out. A part of me felt uneasy leaving her, but the other part recognized I needed airtime outside this house that had become both fortress and prison. The sports bar was dimly lit, neon signs flickering. Mac and two others from the SWAT team, Troy and Bennett, were already seated at a high-top table. They greeted me with grins that held a mix of relief and curiosity. Carter! Troy clapped me on the shoulder. Been ages since you hung out. I forced a smile. Yeah, sorry, family stuff. Mac offered me a bottle of beer. We know. Heard about the final hearing. You, doing okay? I took a pull from the bottle, the cold liquid a sharp contrast to my swirling thoughts. Better than I was, I guess. At least the legal side is done. Bennett cocked his head. You got full custody, right? That's a big move, man. I nodded, my jaw tightening. I had to. She destroyed everything. A hush fell. Then Mac cleared his throat. Listen, we don't want to pry, but we're on your side. If you need anything, someone to babysit, or just an ear, just say it. Emotion welled up, but I kept it in check. Thanks, guys, I appreciate it. We spent the next hour bantering about SWAT missions, gear upgrades, and random department gossip. They avoided prying into my divorce details, which I appreciated. I found myself laughing at Troy's joke about our last training exercise. For a moment, it felt normal, like old times, when I wasn't suspiciously analyzing my wife's every move. Eventually, though, conversation drifted back to relationships. Mac mentioned his girlfriend, how they planned to move in together. Troy teased him about losing his freedom. Bennett mused about how tricky serious commitments could be. I stayed mostly quiet, letting them talk. My mind flickered to Chelsea. The day we moved into our place, all hopes and dreams. That naive version of me felt like a stranger now. Mac noticed my silence. You good, Carter? I forced a grin. Yeah, just tired, I guess. He nodded sympathetically. I get it. If you ever want to blow off steam at the range or something, I'm game. Or just hang. Thanks, I said softly. By the time I headed home, the bar was emptier. I turned down their invitation to stay longer. My heart was already tugging me back to Kiara. The night air felt cool against my face as I stepped into the parking lot. I paused under a streetlight, glancing at the phone. No texts from Jennifer, which meant Kiara was probably asleep or close to it. I got into my car, sat there a moment. Flashes of memory intruded. Chelsea at that fancy hotel, smiling for Howard, or leaving the house at midnight while I pretended to sleep. The rage flickered, but it was less fierce now, like smoldering embers. The judge's ruling had stripped Chelsea of most illusions. She was living with her parents or in some run-down place, I wasn't even sure. A small voice inside me asked if I felt pity. Maybe, I admitted. But it didn't outweigh the betrayal. With a sigh, I started the engine, heading back to the house. Kiara needed me. Jennifer, too, in her own way, was counting on me to keep it together. When I arrived, the lights were dim. Jennifer was on the couch reading. She looked up with a slight smile. How was it? Fine, I said, dropping my keys on the table. Good to see the guys. They were supportive. Jennifer nodded. Kiara fell asleep about 20 minutes ago. She kept checking the window waiting for you. A pang hit me. I'll go peek in on her. Kiara's room was warm, a small nightlight glowing near her bed. She was curled up under pink blankets, her stuffed unicorn by her side. I gently stroked her hair, whispering good night. She stirred, but didn't wake. Standing there, I felt a surge of protectiveness. This little girl was my anchor, the reason I couldn't crumble. I kissed her forehead and slipped out, returning to the living room. Jennifer closed her book. "You look less tense," she observed. I shrugged. "Guess it helped to talk with the guys." She studied me carefully. "You know, it's okay if you want to date again eventually. You're not betraying Kiara by finding happiness." I grimaced. "I'm nowhere near ready for that, Jen." She nodded in understanding. "Just keep it in mind. You deserve a future, not just living in the shadow of Chelsea's mistakes." Her words hung between us. Maybe she was right, but the wounds were still raw. The idea of trusting someone new felt like a mountain I wasn't prepared to climb. That night I lay in bed, exhaustion tugging at me. The house was quiet. My mind drifted to the next steps. Kiara's upcoming soccer game, her visits with Chelsea, my own SWAT training schedule. Life marched on steadily, and each day I gained a bit more distance from the betrayal that once consumed me. I closed my eyes, letting the day's emotions settle. I had made progress both legally and emotionally. Yet, as I drifted off, I sensed that not every battle was behind me. The scars remained, and new challenges could arise at any moment. "I won't break," I told myself. "I'll stay strong for Kiara. Always." Over the next week, the routine settled into a new normal. Kiara attended school, Jennifer managed her classes, and I resumed partial hours with SWAT. The tension that once shadowed the house began to lift, even if small reminders of Chelsea lingered like old ghosts. An abandoned makeup bag under the sink, a forgotten cardigan in the closet. I occasionally stumbled on these remnants, each time feeling a spark of anger and grief before tucking them out of sight or tossing them. Tuesday afternoon arrived Kiara's soccer practice day. I'd left work a bit early to pick her up from school and drive to the field. She was giddy in the back seat, wearing her shiny cleats and a bright orange sports jersey. "Daddy, do you think Aunt Jen can watch me play today?" she asked. "I'm sure she'll come if she can," I said, turning the wheel. "She might have a study group, though." Kiara pouted, then perked up again. "Mommy used to say I run super fast. She said she'd cheer the loudest." My grip on the wheel tightened. "Yeah, well, let's focus on your practice, okay?" Silence followed, heavy with unspoken longing. My daughter's desire for her mother's presence cut deeper than I cared to admit. This is the price of all that deception, I reminded myself. Chelsea should have thought about it before stepping out. The soccer field was a small public park lined with scrawny trees. A handful of parents sat on folding chairs near the sidelines, chatting. Kiara dashed off to join her little group, beaming with excitement. I spotted Jennifer's car pulling in. She hopped out, a notebook under her arm, and waved. "Hey, I managed to squeeze it in before my evening class." "Kiara will be thrilled," I said as she came closer. We walked to the sidelines, setting ourselves on a low bench. Kiara's coach, a middle-aged woman with a whistle, was guiding the kids through warm-ups. The sight made me smile. These kids were adorable, stumbling over the ball, half lost in daydreams. As the practice kicked off, Jennifer leaned over. "Chelsea texted me again. She wants to come watch one day. She offered to talk to you about it, but, you know, the supervised visitation terms." I sighed. "Right now, the arrangement is set for the community center. If she wants changes, she has to go through the court or my attorney. I'm not bending just because she's suddenly contrite." Jennifer nodded, but her eyes showed some sadness. "I get it." Halfway through practice, Kiara scored a small goal during a scrimmage, and she whirled around, face lit with triumph. She waved to us, and Jennifer whooped loudly, clapping. I offered a thumbs up. My heart swelled. Then my phone buzzed. I checked it, expecting a work notification. Instead, it was a text from an unknown number. "Wyatt, this is your father-in-law. Can we talk?" A cold prickle danced along my spine. Father-in-law? We hadn't spoken much since the meltdown. I typed back a short reply. "I'm at Kiara's practice. Is something wrong?" His response came quick. "Chelsea is not well. She's been talking about desperate measures. We're worried." My chest tightened. I debated ignoring it, but paternal concern gnawed at me. I typed, "I'll call you in an hour." Practice ended with a small huddle. Kiara sprinted over, breathless, sweaty hair plastered to her forehead. "Daddy, I scored 2 goals." "I know. You were amazing out there," I said, kneeling to high-five her. "Ready to head home?" She nodded, beaming. Jennifer ruffled Kiara's hair, telling her how proud she was. We made our way to the car, the sun starting to dip in the sky. While Kiara chattered about practice, my mind was still on the text from Chelsea's dad. Desperate measures? Could she be suicidal or something? A pang of worry surfaced despite everything. I didn't want her harming herself. Or was this a manipulative ploy? Back home, I made sure Kiara was settled with a snack. Jennifer said she had to dash to campus for her evening class. Perfect timing for me to step aside and make that phone call. I found a quiet corner in the backyard, near our small shed. The evening air smelled of cut grass. I dialed the father-in-law's number, heart thumping. He answered on the second ring, voice tense. "Wyatt? Yeah, it's me. What's going on with Chelsea?" He sighed heavily. "She's well. She's not coping, son. She's holed up in that little apartment. Won't talk to us half the time. Her mother goes over with food, but Chelsea barely eats. She keeps saying she's lost everything, that she can't live like this." I rubbed my temple. "Is she threatening self-harm?" A pause. "Not explicitly, but she's hinting at it. She's depressed, Wyatt. I can't deny she made terrible choices, but I'm afraid she might do something drastic. She's my daughter." I closed my eyes, conflicting emotions swirling. "I don't want her to hurt herself," I said softly, "but I can't fix her mess. She put herself in this hole." He exhaled. "I know. She's been trying to contact you, but well, you blocked her phone." My jaw tightened. "I have an email address she can use, or she can talk through my lawyer." "I understand. Listen," he continued, voice subdued. "I'm not asking you to forgive her, but maybe you could allow a conversation. Let her see Kiara outside that center. It might give her hope." Anger flared. "Hope? You realize what she did to me, to Kiara?" He was quiet. Finally, he said, "I just don't want to lose my daughter altogether." After hanging up, I leaned against the shed, mind churning. Part of me felt a spark of pity. Chelsea was indeed in a dire spot. Another part raged. She deserves the consequences. Kiara peeked out the back door. "Daddy? Everything okay?" I forced a smile and beckoned her over. "Hey, Munchkin. Let's see your soccer moves out here." She giggled, stepping onto the grass, trying to dribble an imaginary ball. I joined in, half distracting myself from the phone call, but the father-in-law's words echoed. She might do something drastic. Could I live with that on my conscience? If she actually harmed herself? Yet, I recalled the manipulative streak she'd shown in the past. She'd used tears and guilt to control situations. I had to be cautious. That night, after Kiara fell asleep, I texted my attorney about the father-in-law's call. She advised caution, reminding me that any changes to visitation should go through legal channels. She also suggested if Chelsea was truly suicidal, her parents should consider mental health intervention. Jennifer, returning from campus, found me brooding at the kitchen table, phone in hand. "Everything okay?" I relayed the conversation. She frowned. "Do you think she's just seeking sympathy?" I shrugged. "Could be. Or she could be genuinely spiraling. Either way, it's not on me to fix it. She has her parents. Resources." Jennifer placed a hand on my shoulder. "Still, I know you have a conscience. If something happened to her, it would weigh on you." I exhaled. "Yeah. But the best I can do is suggest they get her professional help." Jennifer nodded. "Right. Don't let her guilt trip you. You've come too far." The next day, Kiara had a supervised visit at the community center. I drove her there, tension knotting my stomach. The arrangement required me to hand Kiara off at the door. A staff member would escort her to a private room where Chelsea waited with a social worker present. I'd usually wait in my car or in the lobby. Before going in, Kiara looked up at me. "Daddy, can I ask Mommy why she never comes to soccer?" A pang hit my chest. "You can talk about anything you want, baby, but remember, the visits are just an hour, so don't let grown-up stuff ruin your fun time. If you want to ask, go ahead." She might not have a good answer. Kiara nodded solemnly. "Okay." As she disappeared inside, I leaned against the hallway wall. The sterile smell of institutional cleaning products filled my nostrils. My phone buzzed an email from the attorney reminding me of upcoming settlement forms. Time dragged. After 40 minutes, the social worker stepped out. She motioned for me to follow her to a side office. My pulse quickened. "Is something wrong?" She shook her head. "No immediate crisis, but Miss Carter got emotional. Your daughter asked about soccer and, well, Ms. Carter began crying about how she can't see Kiara play. She also said she wants to speak with you directly." I stiffened. "I'm not comfortable with that. If she needs to talk, she can email my lawyer." The social worker gave a neutral nod. "Understood. I'm just relaying the message. She's calmer now, finishing the visit." At the hour mark, Kiara came out. Her eyes looked damp, but she forced a small smile. "Mommy kept crying. She said she misses me." I crouched, hugging her. "I'm sure she does." She asked if I want her at soccer. I said yes. Then she cried harder. Kiara fiddled with the hem of her shirt. "Daddy, why do grown-ups cry so much?" The question nearly broke me. I smoothed her hair. "Because sometimes we're sad about our mistakes or we miss things we can't have anymore." She blinked, trying to understand. "Oh?" On the drive home, she was quiet. My heart ached for her confusion, but I couldn't change the reality. Chelsea's meltdown was her own doing. Back at the house, Jennifer was cooking pasta. Kiara went to watch TV. I slumped at the table, recounting the visit fiasco to Jennifer. She listened, stirring sauce. Eventually, I said, "I might email Chelsea just to say if she's truly struggling, she should seek therapy. But I'm not changing the custody terms." Jennifer nodded. "That seems reasonable. No direct meeting, though. She'll twist your words." "Right," I agreed. So that night, I composed a short, formal email. "Chelsea, I'm aware you've been upset regarding visits and Kiara's soccer. The court order stands. If you need more support, please consider professional therapy or speak with your parents. I cannot accommodate unsupervised changes at this time. Wyatt," I sent it. As I hit send, a hollowness spread through me. It reminded me that no matter how final the court's decree was, the emotional fallout would keep unfolding. This was the life we were stuck in. It had been a couple of weeks since I sent that email. Chelsea hadn't replied, at least not directly. Through the grapevine, her father. I heard she'd started seeing a counselor. Some part of me felt relief, for Kiara's sake, if nothing else. But I refused to dwell on her emotional state any longer. I had to keep forging ahead, focusing on Kiara's well-being and my own recovery. Late October arrived, and with it the crisp chill of autumn. Kiara was thrilled about Halloween. She wanted to dress up as some spunky superhero with a sparkly cape. Jennifer embraced the idea, helping Kiara craft a homemade costume. I watched them at the dining table one Saturday, fabric and glitter everywhere. Jennifer glanced at me. "You sure you don't want to do a family costume theme?" I smirked. "I think one superhero in the house is enough. I'll pass." Kiara piped up, "But Daddy, you could be a policeman." Jennifer burst into laughter. "He kind of already is, honey. SWAT is even cooler." We shared a gentle moment of levity. These glimpses of normal family bonding reminded me life goes on, even after betrayal. Meanwhile, the final property settlement hearing loomed in a week, though it was more of a formality since the major items house custody were resolved. My attorney said I'd basically sign a few documents disclaiming spousal support, and it would close the book on finances. One afternoon, after picking Kiara up from school, I caught her in a thoughtful mood. She set her backpack down, perched on the couch, twirling a strand of hair. "Daddy," she began softly, "Mommy said in our last visit that she's trying really hard to get better. She said you might let her see me more soon." My stomach tightened. "She said that?" Kiara nodded solemnly. "She said if she's good, you'll forgive her." I swallowed. "It's not about forgiveness, Kiara. It's about what's safe and right for you." Her eyes searched mine. I want Mommy to be around. I love you both." Pain lanced through me. "I know, baby. I love you more than anything. But remember, grown-ups have rules we have to follow." She nodded slowly, clearly dissatisfied with the complexity of adult drama. That night I found myself rummaging in the garage, looking for a box of old decorations. I stumbled on a sealed container labeled "Wedding Anniversary Mementos." My breath caught. Inside could be photo albums, maybe the old anniversary cards we'd exchanged. Hands trembling, I pried open the lid. Sure enough, a swirl of snapshots greeted me. Chelsea in her wedding dress, me in a tux, both smiling. The memory assaulted me, a day of bliss, a day I had believed we'd be partners forever. I flipped through a few. The images became too painful to bear. Gritting my teeth, I shoved them back, slamming the lid. "Don't drown in nostalgia," I told myself. "That version of Chelsea is gone." Still, my chest felt tight. I sank onto a folding chair, the garage light flickering overhead. The betrayal burned anew, but it was tempered by a grim acceptance. I have to keep moving. The next evening, Kiara had another soccer practice. This time, I noticed a difference in her energy. She seemed quieter. She kicked the ball around, but didn't run with her usual enthusiasm. After practice, she trudged over, shoulders slumped. "What's wrong, kiddo?" I asked, ruffling her hair. She looked down. "Everyone else's mom or dad or both come watch. And I only have you or Aunt Jen. I love you guys. But..." I understood instantly. This was about Chelsea's absence again. My throat constricted. "Kiara, I'm sorry you feel lonely, but remember, I'm always here, cheering the loudest." She forced a small smile. "I know." On the drive home, the radio played softly, but Kiara stared out the window, lost in thought. A pang of helplessness gnawed at me. This was the unspoken cost of her mother's actions. That night, while Kiara slept, I paced the living room. My mind was a storm of conflicting emotions, wanting to protect Kiara from heartbreak, wanting to punish Chelsea for the betrayal, wanting normalcy. Jennifer emerged from the kitchen, sipping tea. She must have seen the turmoil in my eyes. "What's going on, Wyatt?" I sighed. "Kiara's feeling the sting of not having her mom at soccer. She's getting quiet, pulling back. It kills me. Jennifer lowered her cup. Maybe we should talk to the counselor at the community center about letting Chelsea attend practice supervised if needed. I mean, does the order specifically forbid her from public events? I rubbed my temple. No, it's not that explicit, but I'm afraid if she shows up, it'll turn into a scene. She might try to approach Kiara alone, or melt down in front of everyone. Jennifer hesitated. Still, maybe it's worth a structured arrangement. Have the social worker or someone from the center come with her. Keep an eye on things. I grimaced. I'll think about it. I don't trust her not to manipulate the situation. The next day, at SWAT training, my mind was drifting. We were practicing breaching techniques in a mock-up building. Usually, I'd be fully immersed in the tactic. How to stack up, who leads, who follows, angles of approach. But I found myself distracted, missing small details. After we finished a run, Captain Jablonski pulled me aside. "Carter, is your head in the game?" he asked sternly. I exhaled. "I'm trying, sir. Just personal issues." He softened slightly. "I know about the divorce. I know it's tough. But when you're on that line, you gotta be 100%. If you need more time off, take it. Don't compromise your safety or your team's." I nodded, shame coiling in my gut. "I'll focus, Captain, I promise." He eyed me a moment longer. "All right. But don't hesitate if you need a break." As I returned to the group, Mac nudged me. "Everything okay?" I forced a confident grin. "Just got a wake-up call from the cap. I'll dial it in." Inside, though, I recognized the toll this custody drama was taking. After training, I sat in my car, sweaty and drained. I checked my phone, 2 missed calls from a number I didn't recognize. Then a voicemail. "Wyatt, it's your father-in-law again. Please call me back as soon as you can." My stomach churned. I dialed him, bracing myself. He picked up immediately, voice hushed. "Wyatt, thanks for calling. Look, I don't want to overstep, but Chelsea's counselor recommended she have some normal mother-child interaction like attending Kiara's soccer practice. It might help her healing. I'm telling you this because Chelsea is about to file a request with the court to modify supervised visits so she can attend public events." I closed my eyes, tension roaring back. "Of course she is," he sighed. "I know you're angry, but consider it. She's not asking for unsupervised time, just permission to watch from the sidelines or something. Maybe a social worker can be present." I thought of Kiara's sad face after practice. My father-in-law continued. "Chelsea's counselor says it could do wonders for both of them." My voice hardened. "She destroyed Kiara's world. Now she wants to pop up like nothing happened." "It's not like that, son. She's trying to do better." "Fine," I muttered. "Let her attorney handle it." That evening, I called my own attorney to give her a heads-up. She explained that if Chelsea filed a formal request to attend public events, a judge might grant it under certain guidelines like a neutral third party present. She advised me to consider a compromise. After I hung up, I stared into space, mind heavy with the weight of decisions. Jennifer found me in the kitchen again, rummaging aimlessly. "Bad day?" she asked quietly. I exhaled. "Chelsea's father called. She wants to attend Kiara's soccer practice with a social worker or someone from the center. My attorney says the court might be receptive." Jennifer studied me. "What do you think you'll do?" I rubbed my forehead. "I might not have a choice if the court rules in her favor. Part of me wonders if I should just agree to it under controlled conditions, so Kiara can see her mother cheering her on. Another part screams that I shouldn't let her weasel back in." Jennifer touched my arm gently. "This isn't about letting her off easy. It's about Kiara's emotional health, right?" That statement cut deep. I nodded slowly. Eventually, I decided to meet halfway. Through my attorney, I sent a proposition. Chelsea could attend one soccer practice or game per month with a designated staff from the community center present, ensuring no drama. If she acted out or tried to corner Kiara without supervision, it would be revoked immediately. It felt like an enormous concession, but also a calculated risk for Kiara's sake. I told Jennifer, if Chelsea truly wants to do better, she'll follow the rules. If not, we have grounds to shut her down. Jennifer offered a supportive smile. Proud of you, Wyatt. You're being the bigger person. Still, my stomach twisted. Am I opening a door for heartbreak? A few days later, news came back. Chelsea accepted the proposal. She was permitted to attend Kiara's next home game the following Saturday, supervised by an assigned staff member from the center. I informed Kiara that her mom might come watch. Kiara's face lit up with a cautious excitement. Really? Will she get to see me play for real? I forced a smile. Yes, but remember, there'll be someone with her just to make sure everything is okay. Kiara nodded vigorously, hope sparkling in her eyes. The rest of that day, she hummed happily, bounding around the house. My chest ached, wondering if I'd done the right thing, but I couldn't deny the flicker of relief on my daughter's face. Saturday loomed with both dread and anticipation. The next chapter of our complicated family dynamic was about to unfold. I prayed it wouldn't explode in my face. I woke up that morning with a knotted tension in my chest. It was the day Chelsea would attend Kiara's soccer game under supervision, but still. Part of me wished I hadn't agreed. Another part of me recognized that Kiara deserved to feel normal, even if it was only for an hour of seeing her mother on the sidelines. No matter how much I resented Chelsea, I couldn't deny Kiara had been brighter at the mere thought of her mom cheering her on. I could tell Jennifer was nervous too, even though she tried to hide it. Over breakfast, she kept rearranging items on the table, salt, pepper, sugar, like she needed something to do with her hands. Kiara, on the other hand, was practically buzzing with excitement, chattering about how she wanted to score 3 goals, just for Mommy. It stung to hear that. I had to remind myself this was for Kiara's benefit. She was the only reason I'd conceded to a carefully monitored arrangement. Around mid-morning, I gathered Kiara's cleats, her little water bottle, and her bright orange team jersey, double-checking she had everything. Jennifer stood by, trying to force a reassuring smile. "You look stressed," she said, handing me Kiara's shin guards. I exhaled. I'd be lying if I said I wasn't. It's the first time Chelsea's going to be in public with Kiara since everything. I just don't want a scene. Jennifer nodded sympathetically. The center staff is coming, right? Yes. Her caseworker, Sheila. I confirmed last night. She's the one who supervises visits at the community center. She'll keep an eye on any direct interaction between Chelsea and Kiara. Jennifer sighed. Well, I guess that's as safe as it can get. Kiara's too excited to see her mom. Let's just hope it doesn't blow up. I felt a bitter taste in my mouth. Hope is all we've got. At the soccer field, the sun was high, the late autumn air crisp against my neck. Parents were setting up portable chairs along the sidelines. A few kids were already dribbling balls on the grass. Kiara sprinted out of the car, bright-eyed and eager. She ran to her teammates with a wave, and I did my best to wave back encouragingly, ignoring the tightness in my chest. Jennifer and I found a spot toward the midfield line. She rummaged in her bag, pulling out an old blanket to sit on. I lowered myself onto it, scanning the parking lot for any sign of Chelsea. Sure enough, 10 minutes later, a beige sedan pulled in. My breath snagged in my throat. Chelsea got out slowly, wearing a jacket, hair pinned back. Next to her was Sheila, the social worker from the center, tall, businesslike, carrying a clipboard. From across the field, Kiara spotted her mother. She let out a squeal I could practically hear from 100 feet away, then took off running. Sheila waved a hand as if to say, "Wait, honey, let's do this calmly." But Kiara bounded right into Chelsea's arms before anyone could intervene. I stood, feeling my stomach coil in mixed emotion. Jennifer touched my forearm, whispering, "Relax, Wyatt. She's just hugging her mom." I forced myself to stay put, but my heart pounded. I watched as Chelsea knelt, hugging Kiara back, tears visibly streaking her face even from this distance. Sheila hovered nearby, not physically intervening, but clearly prepared to step in if necessary. After a moment, Kiara pointed toward me, no doubt telling Chelsea where I was. My pulse quickened. I saw Chelsea glance in my direction, her eyes uncertain. She still had her arms around Kiara's shoulders. Sheila leaned over, speaking to them quietly. Eventually, Kiara scampered back to the field, presumably following instructions to warm up with her team. Chelsea and Sheila made their way around the perimeter. Jennifer stood beside me, arms folded, bracing. When they reached us, Sheila offered a polite, professional smile. "Mr. Carter, good to see you. We have the guidelines in place. Mrs. Carter understands the conditions observing Kiara, short conversations in my presence only. No attempts to remove Kiara from the field or engage in private discussions." I nodded curtly. "Thank you, Sheila. I appreciate you being here." Chelsea's eyes flicked from me to Jennifer. She seemed on the verge of tears but managed a brittle smile. "Hello, Wyatt." "Jennifer." Jennifer gave a tight nod. I simply said, "Chelsea." For a moment, we all stood there, the tension crackling. Kiara's coach blew her whistle, and the kids formed a lineup for drills. Sheila cleared her throat gently. "Why don't we grab a couple of chairs over there?" She pointed to an open space near the bleachers, a respectful distance from us. "That way we can watch without disturbing." Chelsea looked at me again, eyes pleading for something I couldn't give, probably warmth or acceptance. I just turned back to the field, focusing on Kiara. "Sure," Chelsea murmured, letting Sheila guide her away. Jennifer let out a pent-up breath. "That was awkward," I mumbled. "Better awkward than explosive." Practice officially started with the kids doing passing drills, laughing and running in circles. My gaze kept drifting to where Chelsea and Sheila sat. I caught glimpses of Chelsea's face, stricken, sorrowful, at times smiling shakily whenever Kiara made eye contact. "Mommy, look!" Kiara yelled across the field after a successful pass. Chelsea clapped, a glimmer of genuine pride in her expression. I remembered a time when that was our routine, both of us cheering Kiara on, exchanging excited looks whenever she made a good play. Now, we stood worlds apart. A swirl of conflicting emotions tightened in my chest. Anger, regret, pity. Jennifer nudged me. "She's not causing any trouble so far?" "Yeah," I swallowed. "Maybe she's learning." Coach Janine organized a small scrimmage. Kiara dashed around, chasing the ball, tangling with another kid for possession. A wave of happiness filled me at seeing her so alive. This was the reason I'd allowed Chelsea to come. Kiara deserved that sense of normalcy, even if only for an hour. The game ended in a mock final play. Kiara's friend Robbie kicked the ball off to her, and she dribbled in, scoring a neat goal between two orange cones. The kids erupted in cheers, the coach grinning. Kiara turned, flushed with excitement, scanning the sidelines. She spotted me and Jennifer. Then her gaze found Chelsea. She waved with both arms, beckoning both of us. I hesitated, glancing at Jennifer. Then I drew in a slow breath and made my way to the edge of the field. Kiara bounced over, the biggest smile on her face. "Daddy, did you see? I scored!" She flung her arms around my waist, nearly knocking me off balance. I laughed, ruffling her hair. "You were awesome, kiddo!" Then she twisted around, spotting Chelsea approaching with Sheila in tow. "Mommy! Mommy, wasn't that cool?" Chelsea's eyes shone with tears. "It was amazing. I'm so proud of you." For a moment, it felt almost normal, like we were just two parents congratulating our daughter. I forced myself to remain calm, my jaw tight. Kiara tugged on my hand, then on Chelsea's. "Can we all go get ice cream?" An immediate stab of tension froze us. I noticed Sheila's gentle clearing of her throat. "Kiara, your mom's visitation is still supervised. We might be able to do a brief treat if it's within the guidelines, but we need to check with your dad first." Chelsea glanced at me, eyes suddenly filled with desperate hope. "Just half an hour, Wyatt. I won't do anything crazy. We can bring Sheila if needed." Jennifer stood behind me, shoulders tensed. I weighed the request. The custody guidelines typically limited visits to the center or pre-approved events, but the center staff had discretionary authority to allow a short outing if they deemed it beneficial for Kiara. Kiara looked up at me, her expression so pure and hopeful. "Please, Daddy?" I exhaled slowly. "Sheila, is that something your policy allows?" Sheila took a moment, scanning her notes. "Under normal circumstances, we keep visits to designated spaces. But given the event-based permission you granted for the soccer game, there might be a slight extension as long as I'm present and we keep the time limited. I'd have to clear it with my supervisor, though." Chelsea nodded eagerly. "I'm fine with that. Anything, please." This was exactly the kind of scenario I'd wanted to avoid blurring lines, making spontaneous decisions. But Kiara's pleading gaze melted my resolve. "All right," I said finally, "but it's strictly half an hour, and Sheila, you come with us. Jennifer will come too. We do this once to celebrate Kiara's game." Kiara squealed, jumping in excitement. "Yay! Ice cream with Mommy and Daddy!" A surge of conflicting feelings tore through me. Love for my daughter, guilt that she'd never have a fully intact family again, and frustration that I was in this position at all. We caravanned to a small ice cream parlor about 5 minutes from the field. It was the kind of cozy spot that smelled of sugar cones and sprinkles the moment you walked in. The big overhead chalkboard listed flavors like birthday cake, mint chocolate, Rocky Road. I offered to pay. Sheila hovered discreetly, while Jennifer hung back, observing. Kiara bounced on her toes, scanning flavors as I asked the clerk for a couple of sample spoons so she could decide. Chelsea lingered near the doorway, looking like she wasn't sure where she belonged. After some deliberation, Kiara chose cotton candy flavor, pink and blue swirled together in a sugar cone. Jennifer opted for plain chocolate in a cup, and Sheila politely declined, just stepping aside with a bottle of water. I settled on Rocky Road, mostly because it was an old comfort choice. Then there was Chelsea. She ordered a single scoop of vanilla, voice trembling slightly. "Thank you for letting me do this," she muttered in my direction. I just gave a curt nod, turning my attention back to Kiara. We sat at a small table by the window, Kiara in the middle, Jennifer to her right, me across, and Chelsea across from Kiara. Sheila stood by another table, close enough to monitor. For a few minutes, it was surprisingly pleasant. Kiara babbled about the soccer practice, her new friend Robbie, and how they planned to have a sleepover soon. Chelsea listened intently, smiling, occasionally wiping her eyes as though she still couldn't believe she was here. She glanced at me once or twice, but I avoided eye contact. Then Kiara, in typical childlike fashion, addressed the elephant in the room. "Mommy," she said, licking a stray drip of cotton candy ice cream from her wrist, "why do we only see you sometimes now?" My stomach clenched. Chelsea froze, spoon halfway to her mouth. Even Jennifer sucked in a breath. I could sense Sheila shifting her stance, ready to intervene if the conversation went off the rails. Chelsea swallowed hard. Sweetie, I've been going through some grown-up problems, but I'm working on them so someday maybe we can see each other more. Kiara's eyes flicked to me. Daddy said you can't come home yet. I felt a wave of heat rush through me. This was the kind of conversation I'd wanted to avoid in a public place, but we were here now. Kiara, I said gently, Mommy and we have different houses now. But I like it when we're together, she pouted, tears welling. It's more fun. Chelsea's lips trembled. I know, baby, I know. She hesitated, her voice dropping. I made some mistakes, Kiara. I hurt your dad's feelings. And because of that, I can't live in the house with you. It's not your fault, though. It's never your fault. The straightforwardness of her words startled me. She was actually taking responsibility, at least in front of Kiara. Kiara sniffled. But you won't be gone forever, right? Chelsea glanced at me, then at Sheila, then back to Kiara. I hope not. But some things... She paused, voice cracking. Some things can't be fixed easily. Just remember I love you no matter what. I cleared my throat, forcing composure. Kiara, you're with me and Aunt Jennifer now, and Mommy has some stuff to figure out. But you can still see her like this. Kiara looked at Chelsea, then me, tears shimmering. I want to see you both all the time. Jennifer gently reached over to squeeze Kiara's shoulder. Hey, kiddo, we all love you, okay? This isn't your fault. Sheila stepped forward. Kiara, do you need a tissue? She offered one from her bag. Kiara wiped her eyes, nodding. Chelsea's face was streaked with emotion, but she managed a small smile. You played so well today. I'm proud of you. Don't let grown-up troubles take away your happiness, okay? Kiara hiccuped a soft sob, then nodded bravely. Okay, Mommy. We finished the ice cream with a heavy silence lingering over the table. Even though this was exactly the scenario I dreaded, raw emotions. Kiara, torn between two parents, I couldn't entirely regret it. There was a certain honesty in Chelsea's admission of guilt, the way she told Kiara it wasn't her fault. Maybe that alone was worth it, for Kiara to hear that directly from her mother. After a while, we rose to leave. Sheila checked the time. We should wrap up, folks. Kiara, say goodbye to Mom. Kiara flung her arms around Chelsea again. Love you, Mommy. Chelsea hugged her fiercely, whispering something in her ear. Then she released her, tears clinging to her lashes. I motioned for Kiara to follow me and Jennifer out to the car. Sheila lingered to escort Chelsea back to her sedan. As I strapped Kiara into her booster seat, Jennifer exhaled shakily. That was tough. Yeah, I muttered, turning the key in the ignition. But maybe it gave Kiara a little closure, or at least an explanation. On the drive home, Kiara was quiet in the back seat, occasionally humming or sniffling. Jennifer stared out her window, lost in thought. I kept my eyes on the road, feeling the ache in my chest that always accompanied any event involving Chelsea. For better or worse, the soccer game was done. The ice cream trip concluded. Kiara had gotten her precious moment of normalcy, and Chelsea had abided by the rules, even if it tore both of them up inside. As I pulled into the driveway, I reminded myself that no matter how many fleeting moments like this occurred, the facts wouldn't change. Chelsea had lied, cheated, and broken our family. I was resolved to keep protecting Kiara, and if that meant limiting Chelsea's role until I was convinced she wouldn't cause chaos, so be it. I parked, cut the engine, and glanced back at Kiara. She looked at me with wide, watery eyes. Daddy, she whispered, thanks for letting Mommy come today. A lump formed in my throat. I nodded, managing a small smile. Anything for you, sweetheart. That following week felt like stepping onto uncertain ground. The ice cream outing had gone surprisingly okay, no drama, no meltdown, yet I couldn't shake a constant worry that Chelsea might seize on that bit of goodwill and push for more. Sure enough, I got a call from her father 2 days later. He spoke in a weary tone, explaining that Chelsea's counselor believed more integrated visits could speed up her emotional recovery and improve her relationship with Kiara. I listened quietly, letting him talk, but I kept my response neutral. I understand you want what's best for her, I finally said, but my priority is Kiara. We agreed to that single outing because it was right after her soccer game. That doesn't automatically open the door to routine family outings. He sighed. I know, Wyatt. But you saw how happy Kiara was, didn't you? You can't deny that. A sharp pang stabbed at my chest. Of course, I noticed Kiara's happiness. That's why it hurt so much. Look, I said. If Chelsea wants any modification to the supervised schedule, she can talk to Sheila or her lawyer. I'm not making spontaneous changes. He paused. So that's a no, I take it? It's a go through the proper channels. I'm not bending our custody order on a whim. Understood, he said, voice heavy. It's just hard watching my daughter suffer, too. I clenched my jaw. She caused that suffering. I didn't force her to cheat, sir. Silence hung for a moment, then he muttered, Yeah, you're right, before ending the call. A few days passed without further incident, and I threw myself into my SWAT duties with a renewed vigor. We had a series of high-intensity training scenarios, preparing for a rumored big operation the department expected in the coming month. My friend Mac teased me about my extra edge during target practice. You're on fire, Carter, he said, watching me hit every bullseye. Feels like you're channeling your personal drama into your aim. I exhaled, setting my weapon down. Something like that. The range is the one place I can clear my head. He gave me a pat on the shoulder. Well, keep it up. Cap's noticing. Word is there might be a specialized role opening soon, negotiator or lead breacher. I felt a small surge of pride. Despite the mess at home, I was holding it together at work, maybe even excelling. The sense of control I found in SWAT procedures, where every movement had a purpose, was the polar opposite of the messy emotional battles in my personal life. Jennifer, meanwhile, did her best to keep Kiara's routine smooth. She took over more of the afternoon pickups from school, giving me leeway when my shifts ran late. One evening after I got home, I found Jennifer in the living room, flipping through a textbook. Kiara was sprawled on the carpet, crayons all around, doodling a cartoon family, me, her, Jennifer, and Chelsea off to the side. I knelt down, studying the drawing. What's this, Sweet Pea? Kiara smiled wistfully. It's us, on a picnic. Remember that place by the lake we used to go last summer? Aunt Jen said we might go again if it's warm enough. I forced a smile. Sure, maybe we can. Not sure about the weather these days, but we'll see. She pointed at the figure representing Chelsea, colored in a pale pink dress. That's Mommy. She's not next to us because, well, she can't be yet. But maybe someday, right? My heart squeezed. I gently patted her head, unsure how to respond. Mommy's got her own place now, sweetheart. Kiara's eyes filled with a quiet longing. I know. She resumed coloring, and I felt a pang of helplessness. That night, after Kiara was in bed, Jennifer and I sat down to watch a random sitcom, trying to decompress. Halfway through, my phone buzzed a text from Perry, my detective friend. Call me ASAP. Something odd came up. I excused myself to the kitchen and dialed him, a knot forming in my stomach. Perry, what's up? He sighed on the other end. So remember how I told you I'd keep an ear out for any weirdness around Howard Jacobs? Well, I got wind he might be poking around, asking about you. My grip tightened on the phone. Asking who? Some mutual acquaintances. He's trying to see if you messed with his professional contacts, or if you sent that evidence to his fiance's family. He's basically fishing for reasons to pin his downfall on you. I snorted. He's about 6 months late on that blame game, isn't he? He already knows I exposed him. Perry's tone was cautious. Just watch your back. If he's desperate enough, he might try something stupid. You humiliated him after all. Anger flickered. That's his own doing. But thanks for the heads up. Let me know if you hear anything more concrete. After hanging up, I leaned against the counter, my mind reeling. Howard had slithered out of the picture after our meltdown dinner, presumably losing his engagement and a good chunk of his professional reputation. Now, he was sniffing around again. Did he want revenge? I was about to head back to the living room when a knock sounded at the front door, startling me. I glanced at the time, nearly 9 p.m. Jennifer peered out from behind the couch, eyes questioning. I gestured for her to stay put. When I opened the door, I found Chelsea's father standing there, shoulders hunched against the cool night air. "Sir?" I said, baffled by his sudden appearance. He offered a tight-lipped smile. "Wyatt, can we talk? I figured you might not pick up if I called again." I stepped aside, letting him in. Jennifer turned off the TV and quietly slipped upstairs to give us space. In the kitchen, I offered him a seat at the small table. He accepted, resting his hands on his knees, eyes shifting around uncomfortably. "How's Kiara?" he asked softly. "She's fine, doing her schoolwork, playing soccer. You can see her whenever you want. You know that." He nodded. "I appreciate it. She means the world to us. It's hard not seeing her around as often." I folded my arms. "Well, that's the situation. Did you come here about something specific?" He sighed, rubbing the back of his neck. "Chelsea's mother and I are worried about her. She's in a bad place, Wyatt. She's gone to therapy. Yes, but she's isolated, depressed. She still loves Kiara, obviously. She claims she's trying to respect the court's orders, but every day she asks us if there's any chance you'd talk to her directly to sort something out." A flicker of pity warred with my anger. "Sort something out? Like what?" He raised a hand. "I know she did this to herself, but the counselor thinks a face-to-face conversation just the two of you could help. Closure or maybe a plan to co-parent more fluidly. Something official, not just these random, stilted, supervised visits." I tensed. "We have a custody order for a reason. If her counselor wants changes, they can propose it legally." He nodded, looking pained. Yes, but sometimes an official route can be slow. She's desperate for any chance to show you she's changed. To ask your forgiveness or at least your understanding." My jaw clenched. "Forgiveness isn't on the table." He swallowed. "I'm aware. Still, can't you at least consider a private meeting in a neutral place? Let her speak her piece. If it doesn't change anything, so be it." I stared at him, memories flooding back of that meltdown dinner, the recordings, the condom wrapper, the tearful confessions. Chelsea had chosen her path. She'd broken my trust irreparably. "You remember the night I exposed everything?" I said quietly. I gave her a chance to explain. She sobbed. She apologized. It didn't change the facts. He nodded, eyes downcast. "I remember. But therapy might have given her new perspective. If she wants to own up to her wrongdoing, maybe it'll at least ease the tension for Kiara's sake." I exhaled heavily, a hot swirl of bitterness in my chest. "Fine. If you truly believe it'll help Kiara to see us being civil, I'll agree to a short meeting. But I'll set the terms. Public location, no drama. And if she starts manipulating or crying for pity, I walk. He offered a small, grateful nod. Thank you, Wyatt. I'll let her know. We hashed out a rough plan. A meeting at a local coffee shop on Saturday morning. We'd sit down for half an hour. No lawyers, no Kiara, no Jennifer, just Chelsea and me in a public space, so things couldn't get heated or out of control. After he left, I stood by the window, feeling uneasy. Part of me was furious that I'd even agreed. Another part recognized that maybe a calm confrontation, post-therapy, could be beneficial. Kiara was the reason I kept making these concessions. That night, I barely slept. My mind spun scenarios of what Chelsea might say. Would she beg for another chance? Insist that she'd changed? Offer some tearful confession of how lonely she was? I wasn't sure if I could handle her tears without reliving the betrayal all over again. In the morning, I told Jennifer about the plan. She looked surprised, then nodded slowly. Maybe it's good to have a final talk. Clear the air. Clear the air, I echoed bitterly, if that's even possible. When Saturday arrived, I drove to the designated coffee shop with a heavy heart. The place was halfway between her apartment and my house-neutral territory. I parked in a back lot, scanned the entrance, feeling a bizarre sense of vigilance. Inside, the shop smelled of espresso and warm croissants. A handful of patrons typed on laptops or sipped lattes. I spotted Chelsea in a corner booth, sitting with her hands clasped, eyes glued to the table. She wore a simple sweater, hair pulled into a low ponytail. Taking a deep breath, I approached. She looked up, startled, then stood briefly, as if unsure whether to hug me or just greet me. I gave a curt nod, slid into the opposite seat. She swallowed, voice trembling. Thank you for coming. I didn't reply immediately. Instead, I flagged down a passing barista. Coffee, black. Then I gestured to Chelsea. Anything for you? She shook her head quietly. The barista nodded and disappeared. We sat in tense silence until the barista returned with a steaming cup. Once we were alone again, Chelsea cleared her throat. I guess I should start. I sipped my coffee, staring at her. Go on. She fumbled with her fingers. I've been in therapy for a couple of months now. I'm trying to understand why I did what I did. The counselor helped me see my own insecurities, my own resentment about how often you were gone for SWAT, though I know that's not an excuse. She looked up, eyes glistening. I want to say, from the bottom of my heart, I'm sorry. I know I apologized before, but I wasn't in a place to fully comprehend how deep I hurt our family. A tightness coiled in my chest. You realize that now? She nodded, tears slipping free. Yes, I was selfish and reckless. I let my resentment turn into an affair that I convinced myself was just a fling. But it destroyed everything. I miss Kiara every day. She stopped herself, swallowing. I know you can't forgive me, and I'm not asking for that. But I want to do better, to be a better mother for Kiara. Maybe in time, we can at least be civil. I studied her face. The tears seemed genuine, her expression raw. Civil. That's a big jump from the meltdown we had. You lied for months, used our family's finances to hide your affair, and now you want me to trust your new revelation? She lowered her gaze. I know trust is gone. I realize that if I keep drowning in guilt, I'll never be the mom Kiara needs. I can't change the past. I just want you to know I'm trying to be stable for Kiara's sake. I set my coffee down, leaning back. You should have thought of that before you climbed into bed with Howard. A flicker of pain flashed across her face. I know. And believe me, I regret that more than anything. Howard turned out to be a manipulative jerk. Not that it absolves me I walked into it, but it wasn't worth losing my family. We lapsed into silence, the hum of the coffee shop buzzing around us. I felt a swirl of bitterness and faint pity. Finally, I broke the quiet. So, what do you want from me? Specifically? She exhaled shakily. I'd like to earn more visitation with Kiara. I want to show that I can be consistent, not a risk. If the court will allow it eventually, perhaps unsupervised time. I won't push for joint custody if you're not comfortable. I just want to be a real presence in her life again. I pressed my lips together, remembering Kiara's tearful question about why Mommy wasn't around. That's something you'll have to prove to the court. Actions speak louder than words. Chelsea nodded, tears still slipping. I get it. I've started picking up more marketing clients again, so I'm paying off some debts. I'm trying to show financial responsibility. I go to therapy twice a week. I'm doing everything I can to rebuild. I looked down at the table, a knot in my throat. Part of me wanted to stand up, walk away, and never see her tears again. Another part recognized that for Kiara's sake, maybe a cooperative approach eventually would be better than living in perpetual hatred. I sighed, forcing my voice steady. I'll talk to my lawyer. If you keep going to therapy, keep your finances straight, maybe we can discuss more flexible supervised visits. But don't expect me to rush. Chelsea let out a trembling breath that sounded almost like relief. Thank you, she whispered. I appreciate any chance to prove I'm serious. We sat there for a few more minutes, neither quite sure how to end. Finally, I tossed a few bills on the table for my coffee, stood up, and gave her a long, level look. Chelsea, you broke something in me I can't ever fix. I just want you to know that. Her eyes filled again. I know, and I'm so sorry. If I could take it back... You can't, I said firmly, turning away. But you can at least try to be a better mother for Kiara. That's all I ask. Then I walked out, my heart pounding, the cold autumn air striking my face the moment I pushed open the door. I didn't look back to see if she was crying. That was her road to walk now. In the weeks after my tense coffee shop meeting with Chelsea, life settled into a delicate, cautious rhythm. True to her word, she didn't bombard me with calls or frantic pleas. Instead, we communicated through emails or Sheila at the community center for Kiara's visits. At first, I expected some immediate push from her lawyer to modify the custody terms. But nothing came. It seemed Chelsea was biding her time, working on herself and trying to lay low. A part of me felt a wary sense of relief. Another part kept waiting for the other shoe to drop. Jennifer noticed my restlessness one night while we were washing dishes. You seem on edge, she remarked, scrubbing a plate. Is it because Chelsea's going silent? Or because you're still half expecting drama? I shrugged. Probably both. I don't know how to trust her motives anymore. Jennifer gave me a sad smile. Do you think she might actually be changing? I paused. People can change, I guess. But it doesn't mean I'll ever let her close enough to hurt me again. Meanwhile, Kiara seemed more at peace. She still missed her mom, but the supervised visits continued smoothly. Chelsea showed up on time, stayed composed, engaged with Kiara's activities. Sheila occasionally reported back that Chelsea was pleasant, even if tearful at times. One Wednesday evening, Kiara returned from a visit looking bright-eyed, carrying a little potted plant. Mommy got me this seedling, she explained, because she said I'm growing up strong like it. She held it out, a tiny green sprout in a small terracotta pot. I eyed it uncertainly. We can keep it in the kitchen window, I said. Just remember to water it. Kiara grinned. I will. It'll be our new friend. I couldn't help but note the symbolism. A fresh seedling, growth, a chance at something new. I set the pot by the window, offering Kiara a nod. We'll watch it grow together. One Saturday morning, out of the blue, my phone buzzed with a call from an unknown number. I answered cautiously. Wyatt Carter? An unfamiliar male voice said. Yes, who's this? This is Peter Finch. I'm Howard Jacobs' former business partner. My adrenaline spiked. All right. Why are you calling me? He hesitated. I'm not sure if you're aware, but Howard's in a bad way. He's been ranting about how you ruined his life. He owes some folks money for a failed venture, and he keeps saying if it weren't for you, his reputation wouldn't be trashed. I stiffened. Let me guess he thinks I orchestrated his downfall? He orchestrated his own downfall by getting involved with my wife. Finch sighed. Look, I'm staying out of the moral issues. But he's been making claims about payback. I don't know if he's serious or just venting, but I thought you should know. The guy's unstable. Thanks, I said curtly, my stomach twisting. I appreciate the warning. He hung up, leaving me with an uneasy sense of déjà vu. Perry had warned me that Howard might reappear. Was this the next wave of drama? I looked over to see Kiara in the living room dancing to a cartoon jingle. My protective instincts surged. I immediately called Perry, filling him in. He listened quietly, then let out a low whistle. Howard's been off the radar for a while, but I'll keep my ear to the ground. If he's making threats, we can potentially file a restraining order. Do you think that's necessary? I asked, scanning the front window as if expecting Howard to appear any second. It might be preemptive, Perry said, but it wouldn't hurt to at least document the possibility. I agreed, letting out a slow breath. The idea of Howard lurking around, seeking some misguided revenge, made my skin crawl. After all the damage he caused, I wanted him gone for good. That afternoon, I quietly told Jennifer to keep the doors locked, and if she ever saw Howard near the house, to call me immediately, then call 911. She agreed, eyes wide. Is he really that desperate? I hope not, I muttered, but we won't take chances. Days passed without incident. No sign of Howard? No weird phone calls? I tried not to let paranoia consume me. Instead, I focused on everyday life, helping Kiara with her school projects, continuing my SWAT training, and gradually feeling less raw about my meeting with Chelsea. Then, one evening, I received an email from her lawyer. My heart lurched, wondering if she was filing a motion for unsupervised visitation. But when I opened it, I found something different. A formal invitation to discuss a potential parenting plan update, with a note that they'd like to invite me to an in-person discussion at the lawyer's office, along with Sheila's input, to see if we could reach an agreement without going to court. I rubbed my temple, reading the lines carefully. They weren't demanding anything. They were requesting an amicable talk about the possibility of gradually increasing Chelsea's time with Kiara. Part of me wanted to slam the door on that notion. The other part recalled my coffee shop promise. If she showed stability, I'd consider a controlled expansion. And from what I could tell, she was consistently stable these days. She was also working more, presumably paying her own bills. I mulled it over. In the end, I decided it was worth at least hearing them out, so long as any changes were incremental and always with Kiara's best interest in mind. A week later, I found myself in a small conference room at Chelsea's lawyer's firm. Sheila from the community center was there, along with my own attorney, Sarah. Chelsea and her lawyer arrived, both looking composed. Sheila started by summarizing her observations. Mrs. Carter has complied fully with supervised visitation, shown appropriate behavior, no incidents of boundary crossing. Kiara benefits from these visits. We've discussed the possibility of allowing short unsupervised outings on a trial basis, if Mr. Carter agrees. I cleared my throat. I'm open to a trial basis, but I want strict guidelines. Specific times, specific durations. If there's any breach, we revert to full supervision. Chelsea nodded, her expression calm. I understand. I'd be grateful for any trust you can extend. I won't take it lightly. Her lawyer, a prim woman in a gray suit, spoke up. We propose, for instance, that for 2 hours on a weekend, Chelsea can take Kiara to a park or a restaurant, unsupervised, but within city limits. She'll have to drop Kiara off promptly at the agreed time. Sarah gave me a questioning glance. I inhaled slowly, mind flashing to the possibility that Kiara might be alone with Chelsea for the first time since the affair. Was I ready? All right, I said carefully. 2 hours, once a weekend. Let's do it for 4 consecutive weeks, see how it goes. If everything's fine, we can talk about continuing. Sheila and the lawyers nodded. Chelsea exhaled relief. Thank you, she murmured. When I told Kiara about the new arrangement, her face lit up. Really? Mommy can pick me up for a while, just me and her. I mustered a small smile. Yes, but it's only for 2 hours each weekend. We'll see how it goes, okay? She squealed, hugging me around the waist. Thank you, Daddy. This is the best. Watching her excitement, I felt a flicker of warmth. Maybe this cautious step was the right thing. If Chelsea stayed true to her word, it could give Kiara a healthier bond. If she messed up, we'd revert. The first unsupervised visit happened on a sunny Saturday. Chelsea arrived at exactly 10 a.m., wearing a simple blouse and jeans, face determinedly pleasant. Kiara jumped into her arms, giggling. I stood by with folded arms, my posture guarded. 2 hours, I reminded Chelsea, my tone firm. Back by noon, she nodded. I promise. Watching them drive off, I felt anxiety gnawing at my gut. Jennifer tried to assure me, patting my shoulder. Kiara's phone watch is on, right? She can call you if she needs anything. Yeah, I said, exhaling. I just hope... But I didn't finish the thought. I just stared at the street corner where they'd disappeared. Exactly at noon, Chelsea's car rolled back into my driveway. Kiara hopped out, clutching a small bag of trinket stickers, a little notepad. She ran to me, beaming. We went to that art store downtown. Mommy let me pick these out. Chelsea followed, a soft smile on her lips. We had fun. She's all yours right on time. I checked my watch 12 hours on the dot. Thanks, I said, trying to keep my tone neutral. She hesitated. Thank you for trusting me this much. I just gave a nod. Kiara tugged me inside, already chattering about her outing. Chelsea left without drama. 1 successful visit. The next few weekends went similarly. Each time, Chelsea arrived promptly, took Kiara out for some small activity, a park, an art studio, a bookstore, and returned exactly on schedule. No calls, no suspicious behavior. Kiara's happiness grew with each outing. One evening, I was folding laundry when my phone pinged a text from an unknown number. My heart skipped, half expecting Howard or something ominous. Instead, I saw it was from Chelsea. I read it warily. Thank you for letting me have these hours with Kiara. She comes back so excited. I appreciate your willingness to try. I stared at the screen, unsure how to respond. Part of me wanted to maintain the stoic front. No problem, just following the plan. Another part acknowledged the effort she'd shown to stick to the rules. Finally, I typed back, Kiara seems happy. Keep it up, that was all I wrote. A moment later, she replied, I will. I set the phone aside, feeling the subtle shift in our dynamic. It wasn't forgiveness, but maybe a faint sense of cooperation. My anger still flared at times. I'd never forget her betrayal. But I also recognized that for Kiara's sake, I had to keep moving forward. 3 months later, winter winds had started to howl through Denver, bringing occasional flurries. By then, the supervised visits had transitioned to short, unsupervised ones, just as we planned. Chelsea had shown consistency, and Kiara was visibly more at peace. I'd never have guessed we'd reached this point when I first uncovered the affair. My life had been consumed by rage and heartbreak, culminating in that dramatic confrontation. Yet here I was, maintaining a fragile but functioning co-parenting relationship with the same woman who once shattered my trust. Howard never resurfaced in person, though Perry occasionally updated me that he was still in debt somewhere, likely out of state. The threat of him reappearing seemed to fade with each passing month. Through it all, Kiara thrived. She advanced in soccer, made new friends, proudly showed off the now-blooming plant in the kitchen window. Jennifer continued her studies, preparing to graduate soon, and I poured myself into my SWAT career, taking on more responsibilities. Even my captain hinted at a leadership role down the road. In quiet moments, I still felt a pang, memories of the betrayal, the humiliation, the nights I spent trembling with fury. But I had no regrets about my firm stance. Chelsea's downfall had been of her own making, yet she'd managed to rise enough to be a decent mother again, at least in small doses. That was enough for me, for now. One cold evening, after Kiara had fallen asleep, I stood in the living room gazing at the old family photos we hadn't taken down. Images from happier times, Chelsea and I hugging on a beach. Me in my SWAT uniform with Kiara perched on my shoulders. I felt a heaviness in my chest, but not the fiery anger I once had. More like acceptance that life had changed, that I'd never go back to that version of us. I turned off the lights, heading upstairs. There was nothing more to do tonight except rest, wake up tomorrow, and keep moving forward. I'd won the war. That was enough. The final casualty had been my marriage, but my daughter's smile was still intact, my pride still standing, and my future still wide open.